black. The sound of water filling a bathtub steady and deliberate like a clock counting down to midnight. The porcelain creaks under the weight. Steam rises in the darkness. Then a voice, calm, matter of fact. The voice of a woman who has already made peace with what comes next. I married a stranger on a Tuesday morning in Silver Creek, Montana. By Wednesday midnight, he tried to drown me in our bathtub. By Thursday, I knew 3 things. He has done this before. He will do it again. And no one is coming to save me. The water stops running. Silence. Then the surface breaks. Nora Ashby surfaced from the bathwater, gasping lungs, screaming for air that would not come fast enough. Her vision blurred at the edges, darkness creeping in like ink spreading through paper. Her dark hair clung to her face in wet ropes. Water streamed from her mouth and nose. Every breath felt like swallowing knives. She could see him standing over the tub, Garrett Voss, her husband of exactly 24 hours. Tall and handsome in his shirt sleeves, his collar still buttoned. Despite the late hour, his cuffs rolled precisely to mid-forearm. He looked like a man who had just finished a routine task, watering the garden perhaps, checking the livestock, drowning his wife. His hands were still wet. Droplets fell from his fingertips back into the bathwater, creating tiny ripples that spread outward and died against the porcelain walls. "You should have stayed under longer, Nora," he said. His voice carried no anger, no passion, nothing but mild disappointment, like a teacher correcting a slow student. "It is quicker that way." Nora's fingers gripped the edge of the tub knuckles, white nails digging into the curved rim hard enough to crack. Her whole body shook. Not from cold, though the air in the bedroom beyond felt frigid against her wet skin, from rage, from terror, from the animal instinct to survive that had kicked in somewhere between the second minute underwater and the third when her body had stopped fighting and started accepting. She had not accepted. She had twisted, bucked, found his wrist with her teeth, and bit down until she tasted copper. Garrett had let go, and now they stared at each other across 2 feet of steam and silence. Through the doorway to the bedroom, Nora could see her wedding dress. It lay crumpled on the floor where she had stepped out of it 3 hours ago, white silk now trampled and forgotten. On the nightstand, Garrett's pocket watch ticked away the seconds. The sound filled the room like a heartbeat. Tick, tick, tick. Beyond the window, the Montana mountains rose black against a sky full of stars. Beautiful, indifferent, eternal. No help there. A flash of memory bright and sharp as lightning. Tuesday morning at the train station. Garrett waiting on the platform in his black coat holding white roses wrapped in brown paper. His smile when she descended from the passenger car, small valise in hand, dust from 6 days of travel still coating her gray traveling dress. "Welcome home, Mrs. Voss." She had believed him, believed in the home. He promised the life he offered, the escape from Boston, and shame, and the ghost of her father swinging from a rope in a rented room. Number, not a rope. The river. Her father had drowned in the Charles River. The police said suicide. Nora knew better, but she had no proof, and grief makes cowards of us all. Now here she was, in another man's house, in another man's bathtub, about to drown just like her father. History repeating itself in water and silence. "Emily ran too," Garrett said, reaching for her again. His sleeves dripped. His expression remained calm, clinical, utterly devoid of humanity. "Made it all the way to the stairs before I caught her." Nora froze. "Emily." He said a name. Garrett's hand hovered over the water fingers, spread ready to push her under again, but Nora was not looking at his hand anymore. She was looking past him at the wallpaper near the bathroom door. Floral pattern yellow roses on cream background, slightly peeling at the baseboard where moisture had worked its way behind the paste. Something was written there, scratched into the plaster beneath the paper. She could see the edges of letters through a torn seam. Garrett followed her gaze, saw what she saw. His jaw tightened. "You should not have looked," he said. Then he lunged. Nora's hand found the straight razor on the edge of the tub. She did not remember seeing it there before. Had he left it deliberately? Some kind of test? No time to wonder. She slashed upward, not at Garrett, but at the shower curtain rod above the tub. The blade caught the fabric and kept going, severing the brass ring that held the curtain suspended. The rod came down hard and fast, a 3-foot length of solid metal, swinging like a pendulum. It struck Garrett's shoulder with a sound like an axe hitting wood. He stumbled backward more from surprise than pain. Nora ran. Naked and dripping bare feet slapping against hardwood, she sprinted from the bathroom into the hallway. Behind her, she heard Garrett's voice, still calm, still measured, the voice of a man who had done this before and knew exactly how it would end. "Emily made it to the stairs, Nora. Do you think you can do better?" She did not answer, did not look back, ran. The hallway stretched ahead of her, dim and narrow-lit only by moonlight through a single window at the far end. Doors on either side all closed. The master bedroom behind her, guest rooms to the left and right. The stairs at the end leading down to the parlor and the front door and freedom. Tick, tick, tick. Garrett's footsteps, slow, deliberate. He was not running. He did not need to run. This was his house, his town, his world. Where could she possibly go that he could not follow? Nora pressed herself against the wall, breathing hard. Her heart hammered so loud she thought it might burst through her ribs. Water dripped from her hair onto the floorboards, creating tiny puddles that caught the moonlight. She looked down, saw the wallpaper at knee height just above the baseboard, saw the tear she had noticed from the bathtub, reached down with shaking fingers and peeled it back. Words scratched into the plaster with something sharp. A hairpin maybe, or a nail. E.M. If you read this, run. He killed Virginia. He will kill you. M.H. 3 sets of initials. M.H. warning. E.M. about Virginia. E.M. warning the next woman about M.H. And now Nora, the next woman, reading both warnings 24 hours too late. Her accountant's brain, trained to see patterns in numbers, saw the pattern here instantly. 4 wives. 1 current, 3 previous, 2 confirmed dead by the message. E.M. unaccounted for, which meant either escaped or dead somewhere. Garrett hid the body. Number 3, dead. E.M. must be dead too. Otherwise, why would Nora be here? But then, why did Garrett say Emily ran where Garrett appeared at the end of the hall, backlit by moonlight from the master bedroom window behind him? He looked like a shadow given human form. Tall, broad-shouldered, patient. "Smart girl," he said. "Your father was smart too. Look where that got him." Ice flooded Nora's veins. "What did you say?" "Thomas Ashby, Boston accountant, found dead in the Charles River 3 months ago, ruled suicide." "But you knew it was not suicide, did you not, Nora? You knew someone killed him. You just did not know who or why." Garrett took 1 step forward. "I know who. I know why. And if you want to live long enough to hear the answer, you will stop running and come back to the bathtub like a good wife." Nora looked at the stairs, 10 feet away, maybe 12. If she ran, could she make it before he caught her? If she made it to the stairs, could she reach the front door before he dragged her back? Emily made it to the stairs. Emily did not make it past the stairs. Nora made a decision. She ran toward the nearest guest bedroom instead. Shoulder hit the door. It flew open. She stumbled inside, slammed it shut, turned the lock. Flimsy, but it would buy seconds. She scanned the room. Small bed, dresser, wardrobe, window. Second story, but there was a trellis outside. She could see it through the glass white-painted wood, crawling with dead vines from some long-ago summer garden. If it held her weight, if she climbed fast enough, if Garrett did not catch her halfway down. Too many ifs. She opened the wardrobe, desperate for clothes. Found dresses. Too big. The previous bride had been taller, heavier, but Nora pulled one on anyway, a simple gray day dress that hung loose on her frame. No time for underthings or shoes. The fabric clung to her wet skin. Behind her, Garrett tried the doorknob, found it locked. He did not kick the door down, did not shout, did not threaten. He just stood there. She could see his shadow under the door, blocking the light from the hallway, could hear him breathing. "I am not going to chase you, Nora," he said. "I am going to wait. You will get tired, hungry, thirsty, and then you will open this door. And when you do, we will finish what we started in the bathtub." His footsteps retreated down the hall. A door closed. The master bedroom. Silence. Nora waited 5 heartbeats. 10. 20. Then she opened the window as quietly as her shaking hands would allow. The trellis groaned under her weight, but held. She climbed down, splinters digging into her palms, feet finding purchase on crossbeams, slick with night dew. Halfway down, she looked up and saw Garrett's silhouette in the master bedroom window. He was smoking a cigar, watching her with the detached interest of a man watching ants flee a disturbed hill. He did not try to stop her. She hit the ground, stumbled, caught herself, looked back once. Garrett raised his cigar in a small salute. Then he turned away from the window. Nora ran. Silver Creek at 2 a.m. looked like a town carved from moonlight and shadows. The main street stretched empty and wide, packed dirt turned silver by the stars. Wooden buildings lined both sides. Saloon General Store Church with its white steeple pointing toward heaven like an accusation. All dark, all silent. No one awake to see a woman in a too large dress running barefoot through the street, wet hair plastered to her skull, eyes wild with terror. No one awake to care. Nora's feet burned. She had stepped on something sharp 2 blocks back, and now blood left a faint trail behind her. But she could not stop. If she stopped, she would have to think. And if she thought, she would have to accept what had just happened. What almost happened. What would still happen if Garrett decided to finish what he started. She needed help. Sheriff. There had to be a sheriff in this town. She found the office on a side street, small wooden building with a single barred window and a sign that read, Silver Creek Law. A lamp burned inside. Someone was awake. Nora banged on the door with both fists. Please, I need help. Please. The door opened. A man stood there, heavy-set and gray-haired, suspenders hanging loose over his union suit, holding a tin cup of coffee. His badge caught the lamplight. Sheriff Dutch Gannett, according to the nameplate on his desk, visible through the doorway behind him. He looked at Nora, took in the wet hair, the oversized dress, the bare feet, the wild eyes. His expression did not change. Mrs. Voss, he said, not a question, a statement. He knew who she was. Does Garrett know you are here? The way he said it. Not, are you safe? Not, what happened? Just, does Garrett know? Red flags unfurling in Nora's mind like storm warnings. My husband tried to kill me, she said. Each word cost her something. I need protection. I need you to arrest him. Sheriff Gannett sipped his coffee. Ma'am, I have known Garrett Voss for 10 years. Respected businessman. Pillar of the community. If there was a misunderstanding between you and your husband, perhaps you should go home and talk it through. Misunderstanding. He tried to drown me in our bathtub. Do you have witnesses? What? Did anyone see this alleged drowning? It was in our bedroom. Of course there were no witnesses. Then it is your word against his. And Garrett Voss has lived in this town a long time, Mrs. Voss. You arrived yesterday. The math was simple, brutal, final. Nora's hands balled into fists. He said a name, Emily. He said Emily ran, and he caught her. Who is Emily? Something flickered across Gannett's face. Not surprise, recognition, discomfort. Emily Thorne. She was Garrett's previous wife. Ran off last fall. Left him a note saying she could not handle frontier life. Happens sometimes. City women come out here expecting paradise, find hardship instead. She did not run off. He killed her, just like he killed the woman before her, Virginia. And before that, Marguerite. I found messages, scratched in the walls, warnings. Gannett set down his coffee cup very carefully. Mrs. Voss, you have had a difficult journey. The frontier can be overwhelming for delicate sensibilities. Why do not you go home, get some rest, and in the morning when you are thinking more clearly, you and Garrett can work through whatever troubles you are having. Translation. Go home, shut up, die quietly. You are not going to help me. I am trying to help you, ma'am. I am trying to prevent you from making a situation worse by spreading wild accusations about a man whose reputation in this town is above reproach. His reputation. Nora laughed, a sound like broken glass. His reputation is built on murdered wives. Gannett's hand moved to his gun belt, not drawing, just resting there, a reminder of who had power and who did not. Go home, Mrs. Voss, before you make me regret my patience. Nora backed away from the door. The sheriff watched her go backlit by lamplight, his shadow stretching long across the threshold. She turned and walked, not running now, no point. She had nowhere to run to. Behind her, the sheriff's door closed. The lock clicked. Nora found herself at the church without meaning to. Her feet just carried her there, up the 3 wooden steps to the white-painted doors into the shadow of the steeple. She sat on the top step and put her head in her hands. Dawn was coming. She could see it at the edge of the sky, gray light bleeding into black like ink into water. She had no money, no friends, no allies, a husband who wanted her dead, and a sheriff who would not help. In 6 hours the town would wake up. People would see her sitting here in borrowed clothes, barefoot and bruised, and they would whisper, "Poor Mrs. Voss, could not adjust to frontier life, going mad already, just like Emily, just like Marguerite, just like Virginia." The pattern would repeat because no one cared enough to break it. The church door opened behind her. Nora did not turn around. She heard footsteps, the rustle of black robes, the creak of old knees as someone sat down beside her. Reverend Pike. She recognized his voice from the wedding ceremony yesterday, a lifetime ago. "Child," he said gently, "what troubles you?" For a moment Nora almost told him, almost poured out the whole story. The bathtub, the messages in the walls, Garrett's calm voice describing murder like discussing the weather. But then she remembered something her father taught her when she was learning to audit accounts. When the numbers do not add up, look at who benefits from the error. So she asked a different question. "Reverend, do you keep marriage records?" "Of course." "How many times has Garrett Voss been married?" Pike's face changed. Something shuddered behind his eyes. "Mrs. Voss, a wife's place is with her husband. Whatever troubles you face, prayer and obedience can mend them." "How many times?" Reverend? Silence. Then quietly, 4 times. You are the 4th. "What happened to the other 3? Virginia died in childbirth. Marguerite fell down the stairs. Emily ran away." "None of that is unusual, child. The frontier is hard on women." "Hard on women, or hard on Garrett Voss's wives specifically." Pike stood, brushed dust from his robes. "Go home, Mrs. Voss, before you make this situation worse for yourself." The same words the sheriff had used. "Go home." "Shut up, die." Nora watched the Reverend retreat into his church. The door closed behind him with a sound like a coffin lid. She was alone, completely, utterly alone. The sun broke over the mountains, turning the sky from gray to gold. A new day in Silver Creek, the same as every other day. People would wake, go about their business, and somewhere behind closed doors a woman would die and no one would ask why. Nora stood, her feet ached, her hands bled from the trellis splinters. Her dress hung damp and heavy on her frame. She had nothing. No weapons, no allies, no proof. But she had something Garrett did not know about, her father's training. Thomas Ashby had been a senior accountant at one of Boston's largest firms. He taught Nora everything: how to read ledgers, spot discrepancies, follow money trails through layers of deception. "Numbers do not lie," he always said. "People lie. Records lie. But numbers properly read tell the truth every time." If Garrett had killed 3 wives, there would be records, insurance policies, death certificates, payments, transactions. The money had to go somewhere. And if Nora could find those records, she could prove the pattern. She just needed time and a place to hide. She looked up and down the empty street. Most buildings were still dark, but one showed signs of life. A shop on the corner, blue door with white trim smoke rising from a chimney. A fabric shop according to the painted sign. Thorne's Fabrics and Notions. Thorne, Emily Thorne, the 3rd bride. Maybe coincidence, maybe not. Nora crossed the street and knocked. The woman who answered was old, 60, maybe older. White hair pulled back in a severe bun, work-roughened hands, eyes that had seen too much and forgotten nothing. She wore a simple black dress and a white apron. She took one look at Nora and immediately pulled her inside, locking the door behind them. "You are bleeding on my floor," she said. "Sit." Nora sat. The woman brought bandages, water, clean cloth. She knelt and examined Nora's feet without asking questions, found the splinter from the trellis wood, the cut from whatever she had stepped on in the street, cleaned and wrapped both wounds with practiced efficiency. Only then did she look up. "You are the new wife," not a question. "My name is Nora Ashby. Leona Thorne." The woman stood wiping her hands on her apron. "You stayed alive longer than I expected." Most girls do not make it past the wedding night. the casual way she said it, like commenting on weather. Most girls. Leona locked the shop door, pulled, the shades turned to face Nora. How much do you know? I know Garrett tried to kill me. I know he mentioned someone named Emily. I know there were women before me. Virginia, Marguerite. I found messages scratched in the walls. And you ran to the sheriff, to the reverend, and they sent you away. How did you know? Because they sent Emily away too, and Marguerite before her, and Virginia before that. Leona's voice was flat cold, the voice of someone who had cried all her tears years ago. This town has a pattern, Nora. Every 18 to 24 months, Garrett Voss gets a new wife, and the old wife disappears. Different stories every time. Childbirth, accident, ran away, but always the same ending, gone. Nora's stomach turned to ice. Emily Thorne. Was she your daughter? Yes. What happened to her? Leona's hands tightened on the fabric of her apron. She married Garrett in the spring of 1886. By summer she knew what he was. By fall she was dead, or so everyone thinks. What does that mean? It means Emily disappeared, left clothes by the river. Sheriff ruled it suicide. Case closed. But I never found her body, and until I do, I can hold on to the hope that maybe, just maybe, she got away. Leona turned to the stove and poured 2 cups of coffee from a pot that had been warming. She handed one to Nora. But you did not get away, Leona said. You are still here, which means you are either very brave or very stupid. I have nowhere else to go. Everyone has somewhere. You could leave, get on a train, disappear like Emily supposedly did, and leave Garrett free to marry wife number 5 and 6 and 7. Nora shook her head. No, if I run, the pattern continues. Another woman dies, then another, then another. So what do you plan to do, kill him? The question hung in the air between them. Nora thought about the straight razor in the bathtub, the moment she could have slashed Garrett instead of the curtain rod, the choice she made. I plan to expose him, legally, publicly, with evidence no sheriff can ignore and no reverend can dismiss. You think you can find evidence the law will believe child Garrett Voss has been killing women in this town for years? If there was evidence, someone would have found it by now. Someone was not looking in the right place. But I know how to read ledgers, financial records, insurance documents. My father taught me. If Garrett is killing for profit, there will be a paper trail. Money always leaves a trail. Leona studied Nora for a long moment. Then she nodded once, sharp and decisive. Stay here. I have a room upstairs. No one will know. And if Garrett comes looking, I will tell him I have not seen you. Why would you help me? You do not know me. Because you are right. The pattern has to break. And maybe, just maybe, you are the one strong enough to break it. She led Nora up a narrow staircase to a small room above the shop. Clean bed, simple furnishings, a window overlooking the alley. Rest, Leona said. Tonight, when the town is asleep, we will talk about what comes next. She left, closing the door softly behind her. Nora sat on the edge of the bed. Her whole body ached. Her mind raced. She should sleep. She needed sleep. But every time she closed her eyes, she saw Garrett's face looking down at her through bathwater, calm and patient and utterly without mercy. She forced herself to lie down, to close her eyes, to breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. Her father's voice in her memory. When the numbers do not add up, follow the money. When the story does not make sense, find the ledger. Truth lives in records, Nora, always. She would find Garrett's records. She would follow the money. She would break the pattern, or die trying. She woke to voices downstairs, low and urgent. She could not make out words, but she recognized Leona's tone, argumentative, defensive, and a man's voice, rough, unfamiliar. Nora crept to the door and opened it a crack. Below, through the gap in the floorboards, she could see 2 figures, Leona and a man. Tall, lean, weathered skin, like someone who spent their life outdoors. He wore dusty traveling clothes and a gun belt that hung low on his hips. A stranger. I am telling you, Mrs. Thorne, I need to know if you have seen her. And I am telling you I have not seen any new wife of Garrett Voss. Why would I? The man murdered my daughter. The stranger stepped closer. Your daughter ran away. That is the official story. The official story is a lie, and you know it. Maybe. But that is not why I am here. Then why are you here, Mr. Mercer? Nora filed the name away. Because Garrett Voss has a pattern. 4 wives in 4 years, 3 dead, 1 missing, and I need to know if wife number 4 is still alive or if I am already too late. Why do you care? The stranger Mercer was quiet for a moment. Because my uncle was Elias Caldwell. He owned the railroad built half this territory. 6 months ago he was found dead in his Silver Creek hotel room. Ruled natural causes. Heart failure. I remember. The whole town mourned. The whole town was paid to mourn. My uncle was murdered, Mrs. Thorne. And I think Garrett Voss knows who killed him, or maybe Garrett did it himself. Leona went very still. Why would Garrett kill Elias Caldwell? Because Caldwell discovered something. Discrepancies in timber contracts, payments that do not match deliveries, and he was going to report it. The day he died, he had a meeting scheduled with Garrett Voss to confront him, to demand answers. Instead, he ended up dead. Nora's hands tightened on the doorframe. Timber contracts, financial discrepancies. Her father had been investigating something similar in Boston. Railroad fraud, embezzlement, and he died 3 months ago, supposedly by his own hand. Supposedly. Pieces clicking together in her mind like numbers in a ledger. What does any of this have to do with Garrett's wives? Leona asked. Maybe nothing, maybe everything. But I know Garrett kills women who ask too many questions. And I know Elias Caldwell died asking questions. I want to find out if there is a connection. So you came to Silver Creek pretending to be what? A drifter. Range detective. Railroad hired me to investigate cattle theft. Good cover. Lets me ask questions without drawing attention. And if you find your connection, what then? Then I see Garrett Voss hang for murder, publicly, legally, with evidence. The same goal Nora had. She pushed the door open fully and stepped onto the landing. Both figures below looked up. Mercer's hand went to his gun, then stopped when he saw her. A woman in a borrowed dress, barefoot, bruised, but standing straight and meeting his gaze without flinching. I am Nora Ashby, she said. Garrett Voss's 4th wife, and I am very much alive. Mercer stared at her. Then slowly he smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was the smile of a man who had just found the piece he needed to complete a very dangerous puzzle. Mrs. Voss, he said, I think you and I should talk. They talked in Leona's back room door, locked shades drawn. Nora sat at a small table across from Finn Mercer. She still did not trust him, but she trusted the look in his eyes. The look of someone who wanted justice as badly as she did. He told her about his uncle, Elias Caldwell, railroad magnate, self-made man. Built an empire from nothing, laid track across 3 territories, brought civilization to the frontier. And 6 months ago, dropped dead in a Silver Creek hotel room. 52 years old, no history of heart problems. The doctor said it was natural causes, Finn said, but my uncle's assistant told me Caldwell had been investigating Garrett Voss. Something about timber sales to the railroad, numbers that did not match. Caldwell thought Garrett was selling cheap timber and billing for expensive oak, pocketing the difference. Nora leaned forward. How much difference? Thousands of dollars, maybe more. Caldwell was meticulous with his books. If the numbers were wrong, he would notice. And confronting someone about thousands of dollars in fraud might get you killed. Exactly. Leona spoke from her position by the stove. Garrett has money, more than a shopkeeper should have. Big house, fine clothes. He owns the saloon, has shares in the mine. People say he is a successful businessman, but no one asks where the money comes from. Nora thought about the insurance policies. 4 wives, 4 payouts. That could account for some of it, but not all, not the kind of wealth Leona was describing. What if it is both? Nora said slowly. What if Garrett is running 2 schemes, defrauding the railroad with bad timber sales, and killing wives for insurance money, doubling his profit? Finn nodded. That would make sense, but it still does not explain why my uncle died. Even if Caldwell discovered the fraud, Garrett could have just paid him off. Most businessmen would take a bribe rather than make an enemy. Unless your uncle was not the type to take bribes. He was not. Then Garrett needed him dead. Before he could report the fraud to authorities, before he could ruin Garrett's reputation. Which brings us back to the same problem, Leona said. How do we prove it? Sheriff Gannett will not investigate. The Reverend will not help. The doctor ruled Caldwell's death natural causes. Where is your evidence? Nora stood and walked to the window. Outside, Silver Creek was waking up. People moving along the street, starting their day, oblivious to the conversation happening in Leona's back room. The evidence is in Garrett's house, Nora said. In his study. If he is defrauding the railroad, there will be records, contracts, invoices, payments. He is too smart to keep it all in his head. He will have written it down, hidden it somewhere he thinks no one will find it. You want to break into his house and search his study? Finn's tone was skeptical. While he is there, not while he is there tonight. He goes to the saloon every evening, drinks until midnight, sometimes later. The house will be empty. I can get in through the kitchen window. The latch is broken. I noticed yesterday. Yesterday, a lifetime ago. And if he comes home early? Leona asked. Then I run. Again. Finn studied her. You are either very brave, Mrs. Voss, or you have a death wish. I have a pattern to break, Mr. Mercer, and I cannot break it by hiding. He nodded slowly. All right, but I am coming with you. If Garrett comes home while you are searching, you will need backup. You will need more than backup, Leona said. You will need a plan. Garrett is not stupid. If he finds evidence missing, he will know someone was there. He will know it was Nora. Then we do not take the originals, Nora said. We photograph them. She pulled something from the pocket of the borrowed dress. A small camera. Kodak. The kind her father used to document ledgers for his audits. I brought this from Boston. It was in my trunk. If I can find Garrett's records, I can photograph the pages. He will never know they were copied. Finn smiled again, that same dangerous smile. You really are an accountant's daughter. I am my father's daughter, and if Garrett Voss had anything to do with his death, I am going to make him pay for it. In court, with evidence, the legal way. Leona looked between them. You two are going to get yourselves killed. Maybe, Nora said, but at least we will die trying to break the pattern instead of becoming part of it. They waited until dark. Nora spent the day resting in Leona's upstairs room, forcing herself to eat, to drink water, to prepare. Her feet still ached from the splinters and cuts, but Leona's bandages helped. Finn disappeared for a few hours, came back with information. Garrett is at the saloon, he reported. Been there since sunset. Drinking with Sheriff Gannett and a few businessmen. Looks like he is settling in for a long night. Good, Nora said. That gives us time. At 10 o'clock, they left through Leona's back door. The alley was dark, empty. Silver Creek at night looked like a ghost town. Oil lamps burned in a few windows, but most buildings sat dark and silent. They moved quickly, staying in shadows. Finn knew the streets well, led her through back ways and alleys, avoiding the main thoroughfare where someone might see. Hartwell House, as Garrett called it, sat at the edge of town. 2 stories painted yellow with green shutters surrounded by a white fence. Beautiful. A monument to success and respectability. Built on murder. Nora led Finn around to the back, found the kitchen window. The latch was still broken just as she remembered. She pushed it open, climbed through. Finn followed. They stood in the kitchen, listening. The house was silent except for the ticking of the grandfather clock in the parlor. Tick, tick, tick. Study is upstairs, Nora whispered. Second door on the left. They climbed the stairs, moving slowly, testing each step before putting weight on it. Old houses creak. One wrong step would announce their presence to anyone listening. But the house was empty. They reached the second floor without incident. The study door was closed. Nora tried the handle. Locked. Finn pulled a thin piece of metal from his pocket. Lockpick. He worked at the mechanism for 30 seconds, and the lock clicked open. Inside, the study smelled of tobacco and leather. Garrett's desk dominated the room, a massive walnut piece with multiple drawers. Bookshelves lined the walls. A safe sat in the corner door, closed. Nora went straight to the desk, started with the unlocked drawers, bills of lading, receipts from the saloon, business correspondence, nothing unusual, then the locked drawers, 3 of them. She pulled a hairpin from her pocket. Her father taught her this trick when she was 12, practicing on the locks of filing cabinets at his office. Numbers open ledgers, he said, but sometimes you need to open the locks first. The first drawer took 2 minutes. Inside, contracts, timber sales between Voss Lumber Company and the railroad. She photographed every page with her Kodak, working quickly, efficiently. The second drawer held insurance documents. Nora's hands shook as she photographed them. 4 policies, 4 wives, Virginia Perth, $3,000. Beneficiary Garrett Voss. Marguerite Hayes, $4,000. Beneficiary Garrett Voss. Emily Thorne, $4,500. Beneficiary Garrett Voss. Nora Ashby Voss, $5,000. Beneficiary Garrett Voss. All purchased before the weddings. All payable upon death. Premeditated, all of it. Planned from the beginning. Finn looked over her shoulder and swore softly. He budgeted your murder. Yes? Nora photographed every policy, then moved to the third drawer. Letters, dozens of them. She scanned quickly, photographing the ones that seemed relevant. Then she found one that made her stop breathing. The handwriting was neat, educated. The signature at the bottom read, E.C. Elias Caldwell, Garrett. The Ashby girl is daughter of Thomas Ashby, Boston accountant, who discovered our railroad embezzlement operation. Thomas is now handled. River drowning, staged suicide. His daughter fled Boston under false name. We tracked her to your mail-order bride service. Marry her. Keep her close. Find out if Thomas told her anything before he died. If she knows nothing, proceed with standard protocol. Accident after probate. If she knows something, extract information, then proceed. E.C. Nora read it 3 times. Her father did not commit suicide. He was murdered by the same people who sent her to Garrett. They wanted her to marry a serial killer because they thought she had information her father left behind. But she did not. Her father never told her about the embezzlement. He protected her by keeping her ignorant. So she was going to die for knowing nothing. The injustice of it made her want to scream. But she photographed the letter instead, added it to the evidence. Finn touched her shoulder. We should go. We have enough. Nora nodded, started closing drawers. Then she heard it. The front door opening downstairs. Footsteps in the parlor. Garrett's voice. Yes, Sheriff, I understand, but I assure you my wife is simply overwrought. When I find her, I will make sure she gets the rest she needs. Sheriff Gannett's reply, muffled. Nora could not make out the words, but Garrett's response came through clearly. Check the kitchen. I will check upstairs. Footsteps on the stairs. Finn grabbed Nora's hand and pulled her toward the window, but the study window faced the front street. No trellis, 2-story drop onto hard ground. They were trapped. Nora looked around desperately. Wardrobe. Could they hide inside? Number 2 obvious. Under the desk, Garrett would check there. Finn pointed to the bookshelf. There was a gap between it and the wall. Narrow, but maybe wide enough for 2 people if they pressed themselves flat. They squeezed into the space just as the study door opened. Through the crack between shelf and wall, Nora could see Garrett enter. He carried an oil lamp, raised it high, scanning the room. His gaze passed over the desk, the drawers. He set the lamp down and checked each drawer. They were all locked exactly as he had left them. Nora held her breath, praying he would not notice the tiny scratches around the keyholes from her hairpin. He did not notice. He moved to the wardrobe, opened it, checked inside. Then he turned toward the bookshelf. Nora's heart hammered so hard she thought Garrett would hear it. He walked closer, closer, stopped 3 feet away, stared directly at the gap where Nora and Finn hid. Then Sheriff Gannett's voice from downstairs. Mr. Voss' kitchen window is open. Looks like someone came in this way. Garrett's jaw tightened. He turned and left the study, taking the lamp with him. Nora and Finn waited in darkness, pressed against the wall, barely breathing. They heard Garrett and Gannett searching the house, opening doors, checking rooms. Finally, Garrett's voice from the parlor. She is not here, but she was. That window latch has been broken since last week. I was going to fix it. Want me to post a deputy to watch the house? No. She will come back. She has nowhere else to go. The front door closed. Footsteps retreated down the street. Silence. Nora and Finn waited 10 more minutes before emerging from their hiding place. Nora's legs shook so badly she could barely walk, but the camera in her pocket held 24 photographs. Evidence. Proof. Enough to hang Garrett Voss. They climbed out through the study window using a drain pipe to reach the ground, ran through back alleys to Leona's shop. Leona was waiting, pale and anxious. Did you get it? Nora handed her the camera. Everything. insurance policies, timber contracts, and a letter from Elias Caldwell ordering my father's murder. Leona's eyes widened. Caldwell ordered the murder. But Caldwell is dead. According to the letter, he is not. The letter is dated 3 weeks ago, 2 months after his supposed death. Finn went very still. That is impossible. I saw the body. I identified my uncle at the morgue. Sir, then you identified the wrong body, or someone lied to you, or the death was staged. Nora looked at him. Your uncle is alive, Mr. Mercer, and he is working with Garrett Voss to cover up murder and embezzlement. Finn sank into a chair, face pale. If my uncle faked his death, if he is alive and orchestrating this, then we are not just fighting Garrett. We are fighting one of the most powerful men in the territory. Yes. And if we expose Garrett, Caldwell will come after us next. Probably. Finn looked up at her. You still want to do this, knowing what we are up against? Nora thought about her father drowned in the Charles River, thought about Virginia and Marguerite and Emily all dead or disappeared because no one stood up to Garrett, thought about the letter in the locked drawer, proceed with standard protocol. She was the standard protocol, the next victim in a pattern stretching back years. Yes, she said, I want to do this. Because if we do not stop them, they will kill me anyway. At least this way, I go down fighting. Leona spoke softly. There is something you should know before you commit to this fight. What? Leona walked to the base of the stairs, looked up toward the second floor. Emily did not run away, and she is not dead. Nora's breath caught. What are you saying? I am saying my daughter is upstairs, in the attic. She has been hiding there for 11 months. Silence. Then Nora laughed. Not humor, shock, relief, horror, all mixed together. Emily is alive. Yes, Garrett thinks he killed her, thinks he staged her suicide, left her clothes by the river, but I helped her escape that night, hid her, and she has been in my attic ever since, waiting for someone brave enough to expose him. Leona climbed the stairs. Nora followed. The attic was small, low-ceilinged, hot, despite the night air. A single candle burned on a crate serving as a table. And sitting on a cot in the corner, thin and pale and very much alive, was Emily Thorne. She looked up as Nora entered. Her eyes were huge in her gaunt face. Her left arm hung at an odd angle, badly healed from an old break. You are the new wife, Emily said. Her voice was rough from disuse. Number 4. Nora knelt beside the cot. Yes, and you are wife number 3, the one who got away. Emily laughed bitterly. I did not get away. I am hiding. There is a difference. Why did you not leave town? Go somewhere Garrett could not find you. Emily held up her damaged arm. He broke this the night I tried to run. My mother set the bone, but it healed wrong. I cannot lift anything heavy, cannot work, cannot travel far. So I stay here in this attic, and I wait. Wait for what? Emily looked at Nora with eyes that had seen too much and hoped for too little. For someone like you, someone smart enough to find the evidence, brave enough to use it, someone who can finish what I started. She reached under the cot and pulled out a journal, small leather-bound filled with cramped handwriting. I kept records, Emily said. Every time Garrett hit me, every threat, every moment of cruelty, I wrote it down. My mother told me to. She said, evidence matters. Even when people refuse to see it, the truth remains. She handed the journal to Nora. Add my testimony to your photographs. Tell the judge I am alive. Tell him Garrett Voss is a killer. And watch him hang. Nora took the journal with trembling hands. This was it, the final piece. Insurance policies, plus contracts, plus letters, plus Emily's living testimony, enough to destroy Garrett Voss completely. There is one problem, Finn said from the attic doorway. We have evidence against Garrett, but if Elias Caldwell is alive and backing him, Caldwell will use his influence to make this go away. He owns judges, governors. He can bury an investigation before it starts. Nora stood. Then we make it too public to bury. We do not go to the sheriff. We go straight to federal marshals. We send copies of everything to newspapers. We make enough noise that Caldwell cannot silence us without drawing more attention. That will take time, Leona said. Days, maybe weeks. And Garrett is looking for you right now. He knows you were in his house tonight. He will be watching, waiting. Then I will give him what he expects." Nora's voice was cold hard, the voice of someone who had made a terrible decision and committed to it anyway. "I will go back tomorrow morning. I will apologize, play the obedient wife, buy us the time we need to get the evidence to the right people." "That is suicide," Finn said flatly. "Maybe, but it is also the only way to keep Garrett from suspecting what we are planning." Emily grabbed Nora's hand with her good arm. "Do not go back there. Please, he will kill you." "He was going to kill me anyway. At least this way I can control when and how." "You cannot control Garrett. No one can. I do not need to control him. I just need to survive him long enough to see him arrested." Nora looked around the attic at three faces watching her. Emily broken but alive. Leona grieving but fighting. Finn hunting justice for his uncle, even if that uncle turned out to be a monster himself. "We all have reasons to want Garrett Voss destroyed," Nora said. "Different reasons, but the same goal. So here is what we do. Finn, you get the photographs to a federal marshal. Someone outside Caldwell's reach. Someone who will investigate based on evidence, not bribes. Leona, you keep Emily hidden. If Garrett finds out she is alive, he will come for her, and all of this falls apart. And I go back to Garrett. I play the terrified wife who came to her senses. I keep him distracted while the wheels of justice turn." "And when he tries to kill you again?" Finn asked. Nora pulled something from the pocket of her borrowed dress. The straight razor from the bathtub. She had taken it when she ran. Had carried it ever since. "Then I will be ready." She looked at each of them in turn. "No one came to save me. No one came to save Emily or Marguerite or Virginia. No one came to save my father. So I stopped waiting for rescue. I am going to save myself. And if I can do that, maybe I can save the next woman. And the one after that. Break the pattern for good." Silence in the attic. Then Emily nodded. "Break the pattern." Leona echoed it. "Break the pattern." Finn drew his gun, checked the cylinder, holstered it again. "Break the pattern." Nora looked down at the razor in her palm. The blade caught the candlelight. Tomorrow she would go back to Garrett, would walk into the house where he tried to drown her, would smile and apologize and pretend to be the wife he wanted. But tonight, standing in an attic with three people who believed in justice enough to risk everything for it, Nora Ashby made herself a promise. She would survive this. She would expose Garrett Voss and Elias Caldwell and everyone who helped them. She would see them hang. And then she would make sure no other woman ever had to scratch warnings into walls for the next bride to find. The pattern ended here, with her. She closed her fingers around the razor and felt its weight. Not much, but enough. "Let us get to work," she said. And in the flickering candlelight, surrounded by evidence and allies and the ghost of her father's training, Nora began to plan. Dawn came to Silver Creek like a judgment. Cold light spilled over the mountains, turning the dirt streets from black to gray to gold. Nora stood at Leona's window, watching the town wake up. Miners heading toward the hills with lunch pails. Women sweeping porches. The Reverend unlocking his church. Normal people doing normal things, while three women and one detective plotted murder by evidence in an attic room. She had not slept, could not sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she felt water closing over her face. Garrett's hands pushing her down. His calm voice explaining how much quicker it would be if she just stopped fighting. But she had stopped fighting years ago in a different way. When her father died and she ran instead of demanding answers. When she changed her name and boarded a train west and told herself starting over meant leaving the truth behind. No more running. Her reflection in the window glass looked back at her. 26 years old, dark hair unpinned and wild. Borrowed dress hanging loose on her frame, bruises on her throat from Garrett's fingers. She looked like a ghost. Maybe she was. The ghost of all the women who came before her, all the ones who did not survive, all the ones whose warnings went unheard. Behind her, footsteps on the stairs. Finn Mercer appeared carrying a tray with coffee and bread. He set it on the small table and poured 2 cups without asking if she wanted any. "You should eat," he said. "I should go back to Garrett." "Not yet. We need to develop those photographs first. Make copies. Get them into the right hands before you walk back into that house." Nora turned from the window. "How long will that take?" "A day, maybe 2. I have a contact in Helena." Federal Marshal, incorruptible. If anyone can move on this evidence fast enough, it is him. And if Garrett comes looking for me before then, Leona will tell him she has not seen you, same as she told the sheriff last night. Garrett will not believe her. He knows I have nowhere else to go. He will search every building in this town until he finds me." Finn sipped his coffee. His eyes, pale blue in the morning light, studied her over the rim of the cup. "There is something you should know about me, Mrs. Voss. Call me Nora. I am done being Mrs. Voss." "Nora, then. And you should call me Finn, because if we are going to trust each other with our lives, we should at least use first names." "I do not trust you, Finn. I do not trust anyone except myself and maybe Leona." "Trust has to be earned." "Fair enough." He set down his cup. "Then let me start earning it. My real name is not Finn Mercer. It is Samuel Finn. I am a Pinkerton detective on loan to the United States Secret Service. I was sent here 6 months ago to investigate Elias Caldwell's supposed death." Nora went very still. "You lied about who you are." "I lied about my name and my relationship to Caldwell. Everything else I told you was true. Caldwell did die 6 months ago, or appeared to die. And I was sent to find out if the death was staged. Why would the Secret Service care about one railroad magnate? Because Caldwell was not just a railroad magnate. He had contracts with the federal government, land grants, subsidies. If he embezzled government money and then faked his death to escape prosecution, that is a federal crime. My job is to find proof." Nora walked to the table and sat across from him. "Did you find proof?" "Not until last night. That letter you photographed. The one from EC to Garrett about your father. That is Caldwell's handwriting. I recognize it from documents in his office, and it is dated 2 months after his death, which means he is alive, hiding, pulling strings from somewhere. Where, I do not know yet, but I am going to find out." Nora thought about this. A federal agent, not just a drifter seeking revenge, someone with actual authority, resources, connections. "Why did you not tell me this last night?" "Because I did not know if I could trust you. For all I knew, you were part of Caldwell's operation, sent here to test Garrett's loyalty, or to find out what I knew. You thought I was working with the man who ordered my father killed. I thought you might not know your father was killed. I thought you might be an innocent pawn, but I had to be sure before I revealed my real mission. And now you are sure, now I am sure you want Garrett and Caldwell destroyed as much as I do, maybe more, which makes us allies." Nora picked up her coffee, drank. The bitter heat felt good grounding. "So what is your plan, Agent Finn?" "The same as yours. Get the evidence to someone who can act on it. But we need more than photographs. We need the original documents. And we need witnesses who can testify about Caldwell being alive. Have you seen him? Can you identify him? I have never met Elias Caldwell. I would not know him if he walked past me on the street. Then we need to find someone who has seen him recently, someone who can put him in Silver Creek after his supposed death." "Emily said she saw him 3 days ago, meeting with Garrett in the study." Finn leaned forward. "Emily saw Caldwell. She is sure." "That is what Leona told me. Emily was hiding in the crawl space beneath the house." She heard them talking. "Then Emily is our witness. If she testifies that Caldwell is alive, if she describes what he looks like, what he said that corroborates the letter, makes the case stronger. Emily can barely walk. Her arm is useless. Garrett broke her so badly she has been hiding in an attic for almost a year. You want to put her in front of a judge? I want to give her the chance to see the man who tried to kill her face justice. But only if she is willing." Nora thought about Emily's face last night, the hope in her eyes when she handed over her journal, the desperate need to make her suffering mean something. "She will be willing. But we need to keep her safe until the trial. If Garrett finds out she is alive, he will kill her before she can testify." "Agreed. Which means we need to move fast. Develop the photographs today. Send copies to my contact in Helena by tomorrow's stage. Get a federal warrant issued. Have marshals here by week's end." "That is 5 days. I have to survive Garrett for 5 days while pretending I do not know he is a murderer." "Can you do it?" Nora touched the straight razor in her pocket. She had not let go of it since last night. Had slept with it under her pillow in Leona's spare room, hand wrapped around the handle. "I can do whatever I have to do to survive." They spent the morning in Leona's dark room, a converted storage closet with chemicals and developing trays. Finn knew how to develop photographs. He worked methodically, carefully, bringing each image up from the blank paper like a ghost materializing. Insurance policies, timber contracts, the letter from Caldwell ordering Thomas Ashby's murder. Each photograph was a nail in Garrett's coffin. Nora watched the images appear and felt something cold and hard settle in her chest. Not quite satisfaction, not quite revenge, something more primal, justice. The kind that comes with evidence and witnesses and the weight of law behind it. Her father had taught her that numbers do not lie, but he had also taught her that sometimes the truth needs someone willing to fight for it, someone willing to risk everything to make sure the ledgers balance. She was that someone now. By noon they had 2 complete sets of photographs. Finn wrapped one set in oilcloth and tucked it inside his coat. I will take this to the stage office. Send it to Helena with instructions for my contact, Marshal William Cobb. Good man, honest. He will move fast when he sees what we have. And the other set, we keep it here as backup, hidden, in case something happens to the first set. In case Caldwell intercepts it. Yes. Nora looked at the photographs spread across Leona's kitchen table. Her whole case, her father's vindication, Emily's testimony, Virginia's death, all of it captured in black and white images. We need more, she said. Finn looked at her. More evidence. We have insurance policies showing premeditation, contracts showing fraud, letters showing conspiracy to murder. What more do you want? I want the bodies. Silence. Virginia Perth died in childbirth. That is the official story. But what if she did not? What if Garrett killed her and made it look natural? There would be a body, buried somewhere. If we can exhume Virginia's grave and prove she did not die in childbirth, that is murder, incontrovertible. Exhumations require court orders, doctors, examinations. That takes time. Then we find another body, Marguerite Hayes. She supposedly fell down the stairs, but broken bones tell a story. Was she pushed? Was she already dead when she fell? A medical examiner could tell the difference. Finn shook his head slowly. You are thinking like an accountant. Find all the evidence. Document everything. Build an airtight case. But Nora, we do not need airtight. We just need enough to get Garrett arrested. Once he is in custody, once there is a public trial, more evidence will come out. People who were afraid to talk will start talking. The case will build itself. Unless Caldwell makes it go away first. He cannot make a federal investigation go away, not if we move fast enough. Nora wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that the system would work, that justice would prevail, that the truth mattered more than money and power and influence. But her father had trusted the system, and he died for it. I am not leaving anything to chance, she said. If there is more evidence, I am finding it. Starting with Marguerite Hayes' death certificate. I want to know exactly how she died. Who examined the body? Who signed off on cause of death? The doctor who examined her is probably on Caldwell's payroll. Maybe, but doctors keep records. If Marguerite had injuries inconsistent with a fall, if there is any detail that does not match the official story, I will find it. Finn studied her for a long moment. You are not going to stop until you have everything. Are you? Would you? If it was your father who died, your family destroyed, would you settle for probably enough evidence, or would you make damn sure? He smiled. That dangerous smile she was starting to recognize. I would make damn sure. All right. You look for medical records. I will get these photographs to the stage office. We meet back here at sunset. What about Garrett? He is still looking for me. Stay inside. Do not go near windows. Leona will tell anyone who asks that she has not seen you. And when Garrett does not believe her... Finn pulled his gun from its holster, checked the cylinder. 6 bullets. He spun it once and holstered it again. Then I will be nearby. If he comes for you, he goes through me first. Finn left through the back door. Nora watched him go, then turned to find Leona descending the stairs from the attic. The older woman looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, hands shaking slightly as she poured herself coffee. Emily finally fell asleep, Leona said. Poor child barely sleeps an hour at a time. Nightmares. Does she know what we are planning? I told her this morning. She wants to help, wants to testify, but she is terrified, Nora. The thought of facing Garrett in court, of having to tell a room full of strangers what he did to her, it makes her sick with fear. She does not have to testify if she does not want to. We have other evidence. She wants to. She just needs to be brave enough. And bravery is hard when you have been broken the way Emily has been broken. Leona sat at the table and wrapped both hands around her coffee cup like she was trying to steal its warmth. "There is something I need to tell you," she said quietly. "About Marguerite Hayes." Nora sat across from her. "What about her?" "You asked Finn about exhuming her body, looking for evidence that she was murdered. You will not find it." "Why not?" Leona met Nora's eyes. Her own were red-rimmed, exhausted, full of old guilt. "Because Marguerite was not murdered by Garrett. She was murdered by me." The words hung in the air like smoke. Nora went very still. "What did you say?" "I killed Marguerite Hayes, pushed her down the stairs in this very building, broke her neck. Then I told everyone I found her body at the bottom of the stairs. Accident, I said. Tragic, I said. And everyone believed me because why would I lie?" Nora could not speak, could not process what she was hearing. Leona continued, her voice flat, emotionless, the voice of someone confessing to a priest after years of carrying unbearable weight. "It was 1885, 2 years after Virginia Perth died. Marguerite came to me in the spring. She had been married to Garrett for 3 months. She was already covered in bruises. She knew what he was, knew he had killed Virginia. She begged me to help her." Leona's hands tightened on the cup. "I was younger then, angrier. I thought if I killed Marguerite myself, if I made it look like an accident, the sheriff would have to investigate. 2 wives dead in 2 years. Someone would see the pattern. Someone would arrest Garrett before he could kill again. But no one investigated. No one investigated. Garrett played the grieving widower. People felt sorry for him. Poor man, they said. 2 wives lost in 2 years. Such tragedy. And I stood there with blood on my hands and realized I had killed an innocent woman for nothing." Tears ran down Leona's face, but her voice never wavered. "A year later, Garrett married Emily, my daughter, and I knew then what I had done. I had not stopped the pattern. I had become part of it. I had killed to prevent killing, and all I did was add another body to the count." Nora reached across the table and took Leona's hand. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you need to know what you are up against. You think justice is clean. You think evidence and trials and courts will make everything right. But Nora, I had the same thought when I pushed Marguerite down those stairs. I thought I was bringing justice. I thought I was stopping evil. Instead, I became a murderer myself." "You were trying to save lives." "I was trying to ease my own conscience. Virginia Perth came to me before she died. Told me Garrett was threatening her. I did nothing. I was afraid, and she died. When Marguerite came to me with the same story, I could not stand to do nothing again. So I did something, the wrong something, and it has haunted me every day since." Leona pulled her hand away and wiped her eyes. "So when you talk about exhuming Marguerite's body, about proving she was murdered, you should know that you will be proving I murdered her, not Garrett, me, and I will hang for it." "We will not exhume her body." "You should. It is evidence. It proves the pattern. It proves you made a terrible choice trying to stop a monster. That is not the same as being a monster yourself. The law will not see it that way. Then the law can wait. Right now we focus on Garrett and Caldwell. We get them arrested. We get them tried. We see them hang. And after that, if you want to confess to Marguerite's death, you can. But I am not going to let you sacrifice yourself for a mistake you made trying to do the right thing." Leona looked at her with something like hope. "You would protect me, even knowing what I did. You saved Emily. You are helping me. You are risking everything to break this pattern. That counts for something. It does not bring Marguerite back. No, but it might save the next woman, and the one after that. Is not that what Marguerite would want? Is not that justice too?" Leona was quiet for a long time. Then she nodded once. "All right. We focus on Garrett and Caldwell. We let Marguerite rest in peace, and I live with what I did. We all live with what we did, and what we failed to do. The only thing we can control is what we do next." Leona stood and walked to the stove, poured more coffee, stared out the window at Silver Creek going about its day. "Your father would be proud of you," she said. "Thomas Ashby. He was a good man, tried to do the right thing, got killed for it. But he raised a daughter who will not stop fighting. That is legacy, Nora. That matters." Nora thought about her father's face the last time she saw him alive. Tired, worried. He had come home late from work with ink-stained fingers and fear in his eyes. "Someone is stealing," he told her. "Millions of dollars. I found the proof, but I do not know who to trust." 3 days later, he was dead, and Nora had run instead of demanding answers. Not anymore. "I need to get to the county clerk's office," Nora said. "I need to see Marguerite's death certificate. Even if we are not exhuming the body, I want to know who signed off on the cause of death. I want names. More people involved in the cover-up means more people who can testify." The clerk's office is on Main Street, right next to the sheriff's office. "Garrett will see you." "Then I will have to make sure he does not." Nora waited until mid-afternoon when the streets were busiest. Miners coming down from the hills for supplies. Women doing shopping. Enough people moving around that one more figure would not stand out. Leona lent her different clothes, a simple brown dress that actually fit, a bonnet that hid most of her face, gloves to cover her ink-stained fingers. "You look like a missionary," Leona said. "Good. Missionaries are forgettable." Nora left through the back door and moved quickly through alleys, staying off Main Street until the last possible moment. The county clerk's office was a small building squeezed between the sheriff's office and the land registry. She could see Sheriff Gannett through his window sitting at his desk reading a newspaper. She kept her head down and entered the clerk's office. Inside, an elderly man sat behind a desk piled high with ledgers and documents. He looked up when she entered, squinting through thick spectacles. "Help you, miss. I need to see a death certificate. Marguerite Hayes. Died in 1885. "You family. Research. I am writing a history of Silver Creek for the church." The lie came easily. Too easily. The clerk shrugged and stood moving to a filing cabinet against the back wall. He pulled open a drawer and rifled through papers. Hayes, here we are. Marguerite Ann Hayes, died November 14th, 1885. Cause of death, broken neck from accidental fall. He handed her the certificate. Nora scanned it quickly. Date, cause, and at the bottom, the signature of the examining physician. Dr. Horace Brennan. She memorized the name. "Can I see the examination report? There should be more detail." "Examination report." The clerk looked confused. "We do not keep those here. Doctor's office would have them, if they were kept at all. Most frontier doctors do not write detailed reports for accidents. Just sign the certificate and move on." "Where is Dr. Brennan's office?" "He died in late 1885, few months after examining Mrs. Hayes. Heart attack. His practice was taken over by Dr. Marsh. Office is 2 blocks south near the hotel." Dead end. But convenient timing. Another person who knew too much gone at the right moment. Nora filed the information anyway. Dr. Brennan examined Marguerite's body. Signed off on accidental death. Died months later. "Thank you," she said, handing back the certificate. She turned to leave and walked straight into Sheriff Gannett. He stood in the doorway, blocking her exit, arms folded across his chest. "Mrs. Voss, funny running into you here." Nora's heart hammered, but she kept her face calm. "Sheriff, I was just doing research for the church." "Research, right. Does your husband know you are wandering around town alone?" "I am not sure that is your concern." "It is my concern when a woman goes missing from her home in the middle of the night and her husband is worried sick looking for her." "I did not go missing. I left. There is a difference." Gannett stepped closer, too close. Nora could smell tobacco and whiskey on his breath. "Mr. Voss filed a report this morning, said his wife is suffering from nervous exhaustion, said she ran away in the night, and he is concerned for her safety. As sheriff, it is my job to return lost wives to their husbands. I am not lost. You are definitely not where you are supposed to be." His hand moved to her arm, not grabbing, not yet, just resting there. A warning. Nora pulled away. "Do not touch me. Come peacefully, Mrs. Voss, or I will be forced to restrain you." The county clerk coughed nervously. "Sheriff, maybe the lady does not want to go home. Maybe we should respect that." Gannett's eyes never left Nora's face. "This is official business, Harvey. Stay out of it." Nora looked around desperately. The office had one door. Gannett blocked it. No windows large enough to escape through. She was trapped. Her hand went to her pocket, found the straight razor. Gannett saw the movement, saw her hand close around something. "Do not do anything stupid, Mrs. Voss. Let me leave." "Cannot do that. Garrett is waiting for you at the station. He is very eager to see his wife again." Nora pulled out the razor, opened it. The blade caught the afternoon light streaming through the window. The county clerk gasped and backed away. Gannett's expression did not change. "You going to cut me, Mrs. Voss? That is assault on a law enforcement officer. I could shoot you dead and call it self-defense." "Then shoot me, because I am not going back to that house." They stood there staring at each other, the razor between them like a line neither wanted to cross. Then a voice from outside, "Sheriff Gannett, I need a word." Finn Mercer appeared in the doorway behind Gannett. He looked casual, relaxed, but his hand rested on his gun. Gannett turned. "This does not concern you, Mercer." "I think it does. Mrs. Voss is a friend of mine, and friends do not let friends get dragged back to husbands who try to drown them in bathtubs." Gannett's jaw tightened. "What Mrs. Voss told you is a fantasy brought on by nervous exhaustion. Her husband is a respected member of this community. Her husband is a murderer, and you know it. You have known it for years. You just got paid well enough to ignore it." The air in the room changed, became electric, dangerous. Gannett's hand moved toward his gun. Finn's moved faster. His pistol cleared leather and pointed at Gannett's chest before the sheriff's fingers touched his holster. "Do not," Finn said quietly. Gannett froze. "You are making a big mistake, Mercer. Pulling a gun on a sheriff. That is a hanging offense. So is being an accessory to murder, which is what you are. Virginia Perth, Marguerite Hayes, Emily Thorne, Thomas Ashby, and how many others? How many bodies did you help Garrett hide, Sheriff? How many deaths did you rule accidents when you knew damn well they were murders? I do not know what you are talking about. Yes, you do. And soon everyone else will too, because we have evidence, documents, testimonies. Insurance policies showing Garrett took out policies on his wives before their weddings. Letters showing he was paid to kill Thomas Ashby. All of it." Gannett went pale. "You are bluffing." "Am I? Then why did Garrett search his study last night looking for missing papers? Why did he ask you to post a watch on his house? He knows someone was there. He knows documents are missing. He is scared, Sheriff. And when this all comes out, when federal marshals arrive with warrants, you are going down with him." For a long moment, no one moved. Then Gannett stepped aside. "Get out of here, Mrs. Voss. Both of you. But this is not over." "No," Finn agreed. "It is just getting started." He grabbed Nora's hand and pulled her past Gannett out the door into the street. They walked fast, not running, but close, putting distance between themselves and the sheriff's office. Behind them, Gannett stood in the doorway watching. His hand still hovered near his gun. They turned a corner into an alley. Finn pushed Nora against the wall and looked back the way they came. Is he following? Not yet. But he will tell Garrett. We need to move. Now. Where? Anywhere that is not here. They ran. They made it 3 blocks before the shots started. The first bullet hit the wall beside Nora's head, spraying brick dust. The second hit the ground at her feet. She looked back and saw 2 men on horseback, rifles raised. Garrett's men, not the sheriff, private guns. Finn pulled Nora into the general store, crashed through the door, sending customers scattering. The shopkeeper started to protest, then saw Finn's gun and decided silence was safer. "Back door," Finn ordered. They ran through the store past shelves of canned goods and farm tools into the storeroom, found the back exit, burst out into another alley. More gunshots, closer now. Finn fired back. 3 quick shots. One of the riders went down. "Get to the stable," he said. "We need horses." They ran. Silver Creek blurred around them. Buildings, people shouting. Somewhere a woman screamed, the whole town erupting into chaos because 2 people dared to run from Garrett Voss. The stable was at the edge of town. They reached it just as another rider appeared, blocking their path. Not Garrett's man, Garrett himself. He sat on a black horse rifle across his saddle, looking down at them with that same calm expression he had worn in the bathtub. "Hello, wife?" Nora stopped. Finn raised his gun. Garrett smiled. "I would not, Mr. Mercer. I have 5 men surrounding this building. You fire that gun, and they will fill you both with holes. Then we all die together. Or you could be smart. Put down the gun. Give me my wife. Walk away. I have no quarrel with you. No quarrel. You killed innocent people." "Innocent?" Garrett's smile widened. "No one in this town is innocent, Mr. Mercer. Everyone takes money. Everyone looks the other way. That is how civilization works on the frontier. Cooperation, mutual benefit. You just have not learned the rules yet." He shifted in his saddle rifle, moving slightly to point at Finn's chest. "Last chance. Put down the gun. Walk away, or die in this alley with my wife." Finn did not lower his gun. "Nora, run. I am not leaving you." "Run!" She ran, out the back of the stable into the trees beyond. Behind her, gunfire exploded, Finn's pistol, Garrett's rifle. Other guns joining in. She did not look back. Could not look back. If she looked back and saw Finn fall, she would stop. And if she stopped, Garrett would catch her. She ran deeper into the woods, branches tearing at her dress roots, trying to trip her. Her lungs burned, her feet bled. But she kept running, because that was all she had left. Behind her, the gunfire stopped. Either Finn was dead or he got away. She would find out which later, if there was a later. A horse crashed through the brush behind her. Garrett, he had followed. Nora changed direction, angling toward the river. If she could reach the water, maybe she could hide. Maybe she could swim across. Maybe. The horse was faster. Of course it was faster. Garrett was not trying to catch her. He was hurting her, driving her toward something. She broke through the trees and found herself in a clearing. And there, sitting on a fallen log, like he had been waiting for her, was a man she had never seen before. Older, perhaps mid-50s, silver hair, expensive coat despite the wilderness setting. 2 armed men flanking him. He looked up as Nora stumbled into the clearing and smiled. "Mrs. Voss, or should I say, Miss Ashby, we finally meet." Garrett rode into the clearing behind her, dismounted, walked over to stand beside the silver-haired man. "Nora," Garrett said pleasantly, "allow me to introduce Elias Caldwell, my business partner, and the man who ordered your father's death." Elias Caldwell stood, brushed dirt from his pants, looked at Nora with eyes that held no warmth, no humanity, nothing but cold calculation. "Hello, Nora. I understand you have been looking for evidence of my crimes. How industrious. But before you die, I have some questions. And you are going to answer them." Nora backed away. Garrett grabbed her arm, held tight. "Questions about what?" she managed. "About your father's ledgers, the ones he used to track my embezzlement operation. I know he hid them before he died. I know you have them, and I want them back. I do not have them. Yes, you do. You brought them from Boston. They were in your trunk. Where are they now?" "I burned them." Caldwell slapped her, not hard, just enough to make a point. "Do not lie to me. Burnt ledgers do not leave photographic copies. Finn Mercer sent a package to Helena this morning. My people intercepted it. Photographs of my letters, my contracts, evidence I cannot allow to exist. The photographs came from somewhere. So where are the original ledgers?" Nora's mind raced. If Caldwell intercepted Finn's package, if he had the photographs, then their entire plan was ruined. No evidence reaching federal marshals, no investigation, no arrests. Unless she could buy time. Unless she could make Caldwell think the ledgers were still obtainable. Make him need her alive long enough for something, anything, to change. "The ledgers are hidden," she said. "In Silver Creek. Safe place. Only I know where." "Then you will take me there. Now." "And if I refuse?" Caldwell nodded to one of his men. The man pulled a knife, walked over to Nora, pressed the blade against her throat. Not cutting, not yet, just resting there. A promise. "If you refuse," Caldwell said calmly, "I will have this man cut you slowly, starting with fingers, then toes, then larger pieces. You will tell me everything I want to know eventually. Everyone does. But it will hurt a great deal more than necessary." The knife pressed harder. Nora felt a thin line of blood trickle down her neck. "All right," she whispered. "I will take you to them." Caldwell smiled. "Good girl. You see, Garrett, I told you the Ashby girl would be reasonable. Intelligence runs in the family." He gestured to his men. "Bring her, and send word to the rest of our people. If Finn Mercer is still alive, find him. Kill him. I want no witnesses to what happens next." They dragged Nora toward the horses. She did not fight, could not fight. 4 armed men plus Garrett plus Caldwell. No chance of escape. But as they lifted her onto a horse, as Garrett climbed up behind her and wrapped one arm around her waist to keep her from jumping, Nora's hand found the straight razor still hidden in her pocket. They had not searched her, had not thought a woman dangerous enough to check for weapons. Mistake. A small mistake. But maybe big enough. She palmed the razor, kept it hidden against her wrist. And as they rode back toward Silver Creek, toward Leona's shop, where Caldwell thought the ledgers were hidden, Nora began to plan. One chance. She would get one chance, and she could not afford to waste it. But before they reached town, Caldwell pulled his horse to a stop. Wait, there is something we need to check first. He turned to Nora. Virginia Perth, first wife. She had a child from a previous marriage, a daughter. Where is she? Nora's blood went cold. How did he know about Ruth? I do not know what you are talking about. Yes, you do. Ruth Perth, 8 years old. She was sent to live with relatives in Helena after her mother died. But those relatives died last year. The girl came back to Silver Creek. Been hiding somewhere. If she saw anything, heard anything, she is a witness. Where is she? I told you, I do not know. Caldwell leaned close. His breath smelled like mint and decay. Then we will find her ourselves. Garrett, take us to the Perth homestead. If the girl is still alive, she will have gone there. Children always return to familiar places. They changed direction, rode toward the edge of town, where abandoned cabins dotted the hills. Nora's mind raced. She had never met Ruth Perth, had never even heard of her until this moment. But if Caldwell was looking for her, if he saw her as a witness, then Ruth was in danger, and Nora had to warn her somehow. They reached a small cabin surrounded by overgrown weeds, windows broken, door hanging on one hinge. It looked abandoned, but Caldwell dismounted anyway, drew his gun. Search it. If the girl is here, bring her out alive. I want to know what she saw. His men approached the cabin carefully, kicked in the door, disappeared inside. Nora held her breath. Please be empty. Please let Ruth be somewhere else. Anywhere else. One of Caldwell's men emerged, shook his head. Nothing. Place has been empty for months. Caldwell swore. Then where is she? Garrett, you said Virginia's daughter died with her mother. Are you telling me you lied? Garrett's jaw tightened. I told you what the town believes. The girl was sent away. I assumed she stayed away. Assumptions are how operations fail. Find her. Check every building, every family. Someone in this town knows where Ruth Perth is hiding. As they argued, Nora saw movement at the tree line. Just a flicker. A small shadow darting between bushes. A child. Ruth Perth. Watching, listening, smart enough to stay hidden. Nora made a decision. She coughed loudly, drew Caldwell's attention. If you want to find the girl, you should search Leona Thorne's shop. She takes in strays. If Ruth Perth came back to Silver Creek, that is where she would go. It was a lie. She had no idea where Ruth was. But if Caldwell went to Leona's shop, it would warn Leona, give her time to prepare, maybe even time to run. Caldwell studied her face. Why would you tell me that? Because I am trying to cooperate. You said you wanted the ledgers. You want Ruth Perth. I am giving you both. In exchange, let me live. You will live until I have what I want. After that, we will see. He remounted his horse. To the fabric shop, and if you are lying, Miss Ashby, your death will take days instead of minutes. They rode into Silver Creek as the sun began to set. Golden light turned the dirt streets amber. People stopped to stare at the procession. Garrett Voss and Elias Caldwell riding through town with armed men and a captive woman. Nora met their eyes, all of them, the shopkeepers, the miners, the women with children on their hips. She wanted them to see, wanted them to remember. When Caldwell killed her, when they found her body in an alley or a river or a shallow grave, she wanted witnesses. They reached Leona's shop. The windows were dark, the door locked. Caldwell dismounted and tried the handle. Locked. Kick it in. His men obeyed. The door splintered. They poured inside. Nora was dragged off the horse and shoved through the doorway. The shop was empty, fabric still on the shelves, Leona's sewing machine in the corner, but no people. No Emily, no Leona. And in the attic, when Caldwell's men searched, there no Ruth Perth either. Caldwell turned to Nora, fury twisting his face. Where are they? I do not know. I told you the truth. This is where they would be. If they are gone, someone warned them. Who would have warned them? A voice from the doorway. I did. Finn Mercer stood there, blood streaming from a wound on his shoulder clothes, torn but very much alive. Behind him, U.S. Federal Marshals, 6 men with rifles and federal badges, and beside Finn, holding his good hand, a small girl with dark hair and watchful eyes. Ruth Perth. Elias Caldwell, the lead marshal said. You are under arrest for fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy to commit murder. Caldwell's men reached for their guns. The marshals were faster. 6 rifles pointed at 6 men. The math was simple. Caldwell's men lowered their weapons. Garrett tried to run, made it 3 steps before Finn shot him in the leg. He went down, screaming. Nora pulled the straight razor from her pocket and walked over to where Garrett writhed on the floor. She knelt beside him. Remember what you said about how drowning is easier if you stop fighting? You were right, but I did not stop fighting. And now you lose. She stood and turned to Finn. How did you find Ruth? She found me. After you ran, she came out of the woods. Told me Caldwell's men were looking for her. Told me her mother gave her a locket with evidence before she died. I got her to the marshals. They have been in the hills since yesterday waiting for my signal. Ruth stepped forward, pulled a locket from around her neck, opened it. Inside a photograph of a woman, Virginia Perth, and folded carefully a small piece of paper. Nora unfolded it, read Virginia's handwriting. To whom it may concern. If I die while married to Garrett Voss, it was not an accident. He has threatened my life. He took out life insurance on me without my knowledge. If I am found dead, investigate. Signed, Virginia Perth Voss. April 3, 1883, 2 weeks before Virginia's death. Nora looked at Ruth. This small girl who had been hiding, waiting, carrying her mother's last words for 4 years. You kept this safe all this time, Ruth nodded. Mama told me to give it to someone who would listen, someone who would care. Mr. Finn says you are that person. Nora knelt down to Ruth's level. Your mother was very brave, and so are you. Ruth threw her arms around Nora's neck, held tight. And for the first time since arriving in Silver Creek, since the bathtub and the fear and the running, Nora allowed herself to cry. Not tears of sadness, tears of release. The pattern was broken. Virginia's daughter lived. Emily survived. Leona was safe. And Garrett Voss lay on the floor in chains, his empire crumbling, his crimes exposed, his future measured in the length of rope needed to snap a neck. The marshals led Caldwell and Garrett out. The crowd that had gathered watched in silence. Some faces showed shock. Others showed something like shame. They had known. Maybe not details, but they had known something was wrong. And they had chosen comfort over conscience, money over morality, silence over salvation. Now they would live with that choice. And Nora would live too. That was enough. For now, that was enough. The federal marshals took over Leona's shop like an occupying army. 6 men in dark coats, guns on their hips, notebooks in their hands, asking questions in voices that expected honest answers. They separated everyone. Put Caldwell and Garrett in different rooms under guard. Took statements from Nora, then Finn, then Leona, then Emily, then Ruth. Cross-referenced every detail. Built their case brick by brick, word by word, until the foundation was solid enough that no amount of money or influence could shake it loose. Marshal William Cobb sat across from Nora at Leona's kitchen table. He was older than she expected, 60, maybe more. Gray beard, trimmed short. Eyes that had seen too much and stopped being surprised by human cruelty a long time ago. He wrote in a leather journal with a pencil worn down to a nub, recording everything she said in small, precise handwriting. Start from the beginning, he said. When did you first meet Garrett Voss? So Nora told him. All of it. The train station on a Tuesday morning. The wedding on Wednesday. The bathtub that same night. Garrett's hands pushing her down. His calm voice explaining how much easier it would be if she just stopped fighting. The messages scratched in the walls. Virginia and Marguerite and Emily. The insurance policies. Her father's murder staged as suicide. The coded ledgers showing $2 million embezzled from federal railroad grants. Caldwell's letter ordering Thomas Ashby handled. The timber contracts proving fraud. Every piece fitting together into a pattern so clear, so undeniable that even a bought judge would have trouble ignoring it. Cobb wrote it all down without comment. When she finished, he set down his pencil and looked at her. You understand you will have to testify. In federal court. In front of a judge and jury. Caldwell's lawyers will try to destroy your credibility. They will call you a scorned wife, a hysterical woman, an opportunist looking for attention. They will dig into your past. Find every mistake you ever made, use it to paint you as unreliable. Can you handle that? Can I handle being called a liar by lawyers defending a man who tried to drown me? Yes, Marshal, I can handle that. What about threats Caldwell has reach? Even from a jail cell, he can hire people, make you disappear before trial. Are you prepared for that possibility? Nora thought about her father's body pulled from the Charles River, about Virginia Perth dying alone in supposed childbirth, about Marguerite's neck breaking on stairs she had been pushed down, about Emily hiding in an attic for 11 months because she was too afraid to show her face. I am prepared to do whatever it takes to see Garrett Voss and Elias Caldwell hang. If that means looking over my shoulder for the rest of my life, so be it. Better paranoid and alive than trusting and dead. Cobb nodded slowly, approval in his expression, or maybe just recognition. He had seen this before. Women pushed to the edge who discovered edges were where you found your strength. Agent Finn speaks highly of you, says you are the bravest person he has ever met. High praise from a man who once walked into a nest of counterfeiters alone and arrested 17 men without firing a shot. Agent Finn got shot today trying to protect me. That makes him braver than I will ever be. Agent Finn is getting stitched up by the doctor right now. Bullet went clean through. He will live, probably have a scar. He says you saved his life by slashing Garrett's hand with a straight razor. Says if you had not distracted Garrett, Garrett would have shot him in the back. Nora flexed her fingers. She could still feel the razor's handle pressed against her palm, could still see Garrett's blood welling up from the cut across his knuckles. She had hurt a man today, drew blood intentionally. She should feel guilty, ashamed, something. She felt nothing but grim satisfaction. Is that everything you need from me, Marshal? For now. We will talk again tomorrow, and every day after until the trial. I want you to walk me through your story a dozen times. Find inconsistencies. Fix them. By the time you take the stand, I want you so sure of your facts that Caldwell's lawyers cannot shake you even a little bit. He stood and walked to the window. Outside, Silver Creek was settling into evening, lamps being lit, shops closing, people going home to families and dinners and lives that had nothing to do with murder or conspiracy or justice. This town is going to turn on you, Cobb said quietly. When word gets out that you helped arrest Elias Caldwell, when people realize their jobs, their livelihoods, their whole economy depends on a man who is going to hang for fraud and murder, they will blame you. Not him, you. That is how it works in company towns. The company feeds everyone. When the company dies, they starve, and they hate whoever killed it. I did not kill Caldwell's company. He did, by stealing, by murdering, by building his empire on corpses and lies. You know that, I know that, but hungry people do not care about justice. They care about food. And when the railroad contracts dry up, when the mines close, because Caldwell is not there to run them. When Silver Creek turns into a ghost town, every empty belly will be your fault in their eyes. Then I will leave Silver Creek. Where will you go? Nora had not thought that far ahead, had not let herself think past survival, past seeing Garrett arrested, past breaking the pattern. Where did women go when the pattern broke, when the monster was caged and the town turned hostile, and there was nothing left but the long aftermath? I do not know yet. Well, you have time to figure it out. Trial is not for 2 months. Until then, you stay where I can protect you. I am commandeering rooms at the hotel. You, Emily, Leona, Ruth, Agent Finn, all under federal protection. Anyone wants to get to you, they go through me and my men first. He walked to the door, then paused. One more thing. I read your father's ledgers. The originals Agent Finn sent 3 days ago. Thomas Ashby was a meticulous accountant, every number cross-referenced, every transaction documented. It is beautiful work, mathematical poetry. He would be proud of you for finishing what he started. Nora's throat tightened. Thank you, Marshal. After he left, she sat alone in the kitchen. The house was quiet, except for the ticking of Leona's clock on the wall and the low murmur of voices from the room where Emily was giving her statement. Nora poured herself coffee from the pot on the stove. It had been sitting there for hours, tasted like burnt mud. She drank it anyway. Her hands shook, not from fear, from the aftermath of fear. The adrenaline draining out of her system, leaving her hollow and cold and exhausted in ways sleep would not fix. She had won. Against all probability, all logic, all precedent. She had faced down a serial killer and his billionaire patron and lived to tell about it. So why did she feel so empty? The news spread through Silver Creek like wildfire in dry grass. By morning, everyone knew. Elias Caldwell arrested. Garrett Voss in chains. Federal marshals occupying the hotel. The whole town's economy built on a foundation of fraud and murder. Nora watched from her hotel window as people gathered in the street. Miners, shopkeepers, women with children on their hips, all talking, arguing, pointing toward the hotel where the marshals kept their prisoners. Some faces showed shock, horror. How could we have been so blind? But most showed anger. Directed not at Caldwell or Garrett, but at the marshals, at the federal government interfering in local business, at the woman who brought it all crashing down. Leona appeared beside her at the window. They are calling you a traitor, a troublemaker. Some are saying you seduced Garrett, then cried abuse when he refused to give you money. Others say you are working with rival railroad companies to destroy Caldwell and steal his contracts. Do you believe that? I believe people will tell themselves any story that lets them avoid the truth. Easier to hate you than admit they lived next door to evil for years and did nothing. Below, someone threw a rock. It hit the hotel's front window. Did not break it, but left a spiderweb crack in the glass. Leona sighed. Cobb is right. This town will eat you alive if you stay. When the trial is over, you should leave. Start fresh somewhere. They do not know your name. What about you? What about Emily and Ruth? Emily and I will manage. Ruth too. We will take her with us. She has nowhere else to go. Her mother's family is all gone. She is ours now. Caldwell's lawyers will come after you too. You helped hide Emily. Helped me investigate. You are part of this. Leona turned from the window. There is something I need to tell you about that. About my role in all of this. Something I have not been entirely honest about. Nora's stomach tightened. What do you mean? I mean that when I told you I killed Marguerite Hayes, I told you the truth. But not all of it. There was a reason I chose Marguerite specifically. A reason I thought killing her would stop Garrett. She sat down heavily in the room's single chair. Marguerite was not just Garrett's second wife. She was Elias Caldwell's niece. The world tilted. What? Caldwell arranged the marriage, sent his niece to Silver Creek to marry Garrett, solidify their business partnership. But Marguerite was not stupid. She saw the same pattern you saw. Virginia dead, Garrett collecting insurance. She started asking questions, demanding answers, threatening to tell her uncle what kind of man he had married her to. Leona's hands twisted in her lap. I thought if I killed Marguerite, if I made it look like Garrett's abuse had escalated to murder, Caldwell would turn on him, have him arrested, end the partnership, save future wives. But I miscalculated. Caldwell did not care that his niece died. He collected her inheritance, paid Garrett a bonus for cleaning up a potential problem, and moved on. That was when I realized Caldwell was not Garrett's victim. He was Garrett's partner, equal in guilt. Does Caldwell know you killed her? No, he thinks Garrett did it. That is why Garrett got paid. For a murder he did not commit. If Caldwell ever finds out the truth, he will have me killed. Not out of love for Marguerite, out of principle. Cannot let people steal credit for his murders. Nora thought about this, another layer to an already complicated case. Another secret that could explode if revealed at the wrong time. You cannot testify about Marguerite. If you do, Caldwell's lawyers will use it to destroy the entire case. They will say we are all murderers, criminals, that our testimony cannot be trusted. I know. Which is why I am going to keep quiet about Marguerite and focus on what I know about Emily's escape. That is enough. That proves Garrett's pattern without implicating me. What if Caldwell's people investigate? What if they find out? Then I will deal with it when it happens. But for now, Marguerite rests in peace, and we focus on the living. There was a knock at the door. Finn entered without waiting for permission. His left arm was in a sling, bandages visible under his shirt. He looked pale, but steady. Cobb wants everyone in the hotel dining room, town hall meeting, in 1 hour. He is making a public statement about the arrests. Wants us there as witnesses. Public statement. Nora looked out the window at the growing crowd. That crowd looks ready to riot. Is that safe? Cobb does not care about safe. He cares about legal. Caldwell and Garrett have a right to face their accusers publicly. Due process. Even murderers get it. Due process is going to get us killed. Finn smiled. That dangerous smile she had come to recognize. Maybe. But at least we will die legally. The Silver Creek Town Hall was packed. Every seat filled. People standing against the walls. More outside peering through windows. The air thick with tension and the smell of unwashed bodies and anger. Marshal Cobb stood on the stage at the front, flanked by 2 of his men. Behind him, chained to chairs, sat Elias Caldwell and Garrett Voss. Both had been cleaned up, given fresh clothes, made presentable for public viewing. But the chains were real, heavy iron, the kind used for dangerous prisoners. Nora sat in the front row with Finn, Leona, Emily, and Ruth. Emily had not wanted to come, too afraid. But Leona convinced her. "You need to look him in the eye," she said. "You need to see him powerless. It is the only way to stop being afraid." So Emily sat there pale and shaking, staring at the man who broke her arm and locked her in a root cellar and tried to erase her from existence. And Garrett stared back with empty eyes, no recognition, no remorse, nothing. Ruth sat between Nora and Leona. The 8-year-old held her locket tight in one small fist. She had not let go of it since the arrest. It was all she had left of her mother. Cobb raised his hand for silence. The crowd quieted slowly, reluctantly. "Citizens of Silver Creek, I am United States Marshal William Cobb. I am here to inform you that Elias Caldwell and Garrett Voss have been arrested on federal charges, including fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy to commit murder, and multiple counts of homicide. They will be transported to Helena for trial in 8 weeks. The crowd erupted, shouts of disbelief, anger, some calling for the prisoners to be released, others demanding immediate hanging. Chaos. Cobb waited for quiet. "I know this is difficult news. I know many of you depend on Caldwell's railroad for employment. I know Garrett Voss was considered a respected member of this community, but the evidence against both men is overwhelming. And in America, no man is above the law, not even men with money and influence." Someone in the back shouted, "What evidence?" "Where is your proof?" Cobb gestured to Nora. "Mrs. Nora Voss, formerly Nora Ashby. Stand up, please." Nora stood, every eye in the room turned toward her. "Mrs. Voss has provided testimony and documentary evidence showing that Garrett Voss systematically murdered multiple wives for insurance money. That Elias Caldwell paid him to commit these murders to silence potential whistleblowers. That both men conspired to defraud the United States government of over $2 million in railroad subsidies. The evidence includes insurance policies, coded ledgers, correspondence between the accused, and eyewitness testimony." Another shout from the crowd. "She is lying. Garrett Voss is a good man. This is a witch hunt." Cobb held up a hand. "If you believe Mrs. Voss is lying, you are welcome to attend the trial and hear the evidence yourself. But I have reviewed the case personally. The proof is substantial. These men will hang." Garrett spoke for the first time, his voice calm, pleasant, the same tone he used when offering Nora coffee the morning after trying to drown her. "Marshal Cobb, may I address the crowd? You have the right to speak." Garrett stood as much as his chains allowed, looked around the room at faces he had known for years, people who bought drinks at his saloon, who deposited money in his bank, who greeted him on the street and considered him a friend. "I want you all to know that I am innocent of these charges. My wife Nora came to Silver Creek with false expectations about frontier life. When reality did not match her dreams, she became unstable, made wild accusations. I tried to help her, tried to get her medical care. Instead, she ran to federal authorities with fabricated evidence and lies designed to destroy me." He paused. "Let that sink in. As for my previous wives, Virginia died in childbirth, a tragedy. Marguerite fell down the stairs, an accident. Emily ran away. I have no idea where she is now. To suggest I murdered these women is absurd. I loved them, mourned them, moved on because that is what survivors do." Murmurs of agreement from the crowd. "See reasonable explanation. Poor Garrett, victim of a vindictive woman." Then Emily stood. Her movement was shaky, uncertain, but she stood, and in a voice that barely carried past the front row, she said 3 words. "I am Emily." The room went silent. Emily pushed back her sleeve, showed her badly healed arm, the bone that set wrong, the permanent damage. "Garrett Voss broke my arm when I tried to leave him. He locked me in his root cellar for 3 days without food or water. He told me if I ever told anyone what he did, he would kill my mother, so I stayed silent. I let everyone think I ran away. I hid in my mother's attic for 11 months, and I only came forward now because Nora was brave enough to expose him first." She looked directly at Garrett. "You did not love us. You bought us, used us, discarded us when we stopped being profitable. Virginia knew it. Marguerite knew it. I knew it. And Nora proved it." Garrett's mask slipped, just for a second. Cold rage flashed across his face before he got it under control. "You are lying. Emily Thorne disappeared. Everyone knows that. This woman is an imposter, probably hired by Nora to support her false claims." Leona stood. "I am Leona Thorne, Emily's mother. I can confirm this is my daughter. She has a birthmark on her left shoulder blade, a scar on her right knee from falling off a horse when she was 9. She knows things only Emily would know. She is real. She survived. And she is testifying against you." More voices from the crowd, but now they sounded uncertain, confused. If Emily was alive, if she had been hiding all this time, maybe there was truth to the accusations. Then Ruth Perth stood. The 8-year-old climbed onto her chair so people could see her. She held up the locket for everyone to witness. "My name is Ruth Perth. Virginia Perth was my mother. Before she died, she gave me this." She opened the locket, showed the photograph, then carefully unfolded the letter. In a clear, strong voice that did not waver, Ruth read her mother's final words. "To whom it may concern. If I die while married to Garrett Voss, it was not an accident. He has threatened my life. He took out life insurance on me without my knowledge. If I am found dead, investigate. Signed, Virginia Perth Voss. April 3, 1883. Ruth looked up at the crowd. "My mother wrote this 2 weeks before she died. She knew Mr. Voss was going to kill her. She was right. And I kept this letter for 4 years, waiting for someone who would listen, someone who would care enough to make him pay." Her eyes, too old for her 8-year-old face, found Garrett. "You killed my mama, and now everyone knows." The crowd's murmur became a roar. Not all supportive, not all believing. But enough doubt had been planted that Garrett's denial no longer carried the weight it had moments before. Caldwell had been silent until now, but he stood, chains rattling. "This is a farce, a performance orchestrated by people with grudges and federal agents with quotas to fill. Yes, I had business dealings with Garrett Voss. Yes, we profited together. That is called capitalism, not conspiracy. As for murder and fraud, where is your proof? Ledgers can be forged. Testimonies can be bought. You have nothing but the word of unstable women and an ambitious marshal looking to make a name for himself." Cobb stepped forward. "I have your handwriting on letters ordering murders. I have bank records showing payments to Garrett Voss, matching dates of suspicious deaths. I have insurance policies purchased weeks before weddings payable upon death. I have timber contracts showing you billed the federal government for seasoned oak, but delivered cheap pine, pocketing the difference. I have 8 years of financial records meticulously documented by Thomas Ashby before you had him killed. And I have a child holding her dead mother's testimony written in fear and desperation. That is not nothing, Mr. Caldwell. That is a scaffold with your name on it." Caldwell's expression finally cracked, fear underneath the arrogance. "You cannot prove I killed Thomas Ashby. I can prove you ordered it. I have the letter you sent to Garrett. Handled you wrote. River drowning, stage suicide. Signed with your initials. That is enough for conspiracy to commit murder, federal crime, death penalty." The room erupted again, half the crowd shouting support for Caldwell, the other half demanding justice. Fists raised, threats hurled, the situation spiraling toward violence. Cobb's men drew their guns, not pointing at anyone, just holding them. Visible, a reminder of federal authority. "This meeting is over," Cobb announced. "The prisoners will be held in federal custody pending trial. Anyone who interferes with that custody will be arrested for obstruction of justice. Anyone who threatens witnesses will face federal charges. This is not negotiable." He gestured to his men. They hauled Caldwell and Garrett to their feet, marched them toward the back exit. But before they reached the door, Caldwell turned back to the crowd. "You think this changes anything? I own half the judges in this territory. I have lawyers who will tear apart every piece of evidence. I have money to outlast any investigation. You people depend on my railroad, depend on my investments. Without me, Silver Creek dies. So ask yourselves, do you really want me in prison? Or do you want your jobs, your homes, your livelihoods, because you cannot have both?" It was a threat and a promise. Choose him or choose poverty. The crowd's anger shifted, directed now at Nora and Emily and Ruth and Finn, at the federal marshals disrupting their lives, at justice that cost too much. Someone threw another rock. This one hit the stage, splintered wood. Cobb's men hustled the prisoners out. Cobb grabbed Nora's arm. "We are leaving. Now, out the back. Stay close." They ran. Through the back hallway of the town hall, out into an alley, into a waiting wagon. Cobb drove the horses hard, racing back to the hotel, while behind them the crowd's anger grew louder. Nora looked back once, saw Silver Creek dissolving into chaos, saw the town hall's windows breaking, saw people fighting in the streets, saw the fragile order maintained by lies and complicity falling apart now that truth had been spoken aloud. She had done this. She had broken the pattern, and in doing so broken the town. Cobb was right. They would never forgive her. That night Finn came to Nora's room. His face was grave. "I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you days ago." Nora sat on the bed, waited. "When I said I sent your father's ledgers to Helena 3 days before I came to Silver Creek, I lied. I sent them 7 days before. Gave my contact, Marshal Cobb, explicit instructions. Wait until you hear from me. Then move fast. Bring marshals, bring warrants. Be ready to arrest Caldwell and Garrett on my signal." "What signal?" "A second telegraph, sent from Silver Creek, confirming Caldwell's location and instructing immediate response." Nora thought about the portable telegraph key she had stolen from the post office, the one she gave to Finn in the jail cell so he could send a message on the metal bars. "The telegraph I helped you send. That was the signal." "Yes." "So you planned this, all of it. You knew exactly when the marshals would arrive. You orchestrated the timing so they would show up right when Caldwell had us cornered." "I orchestrated the possibility. I did not know for certain Caldwell would take the bait. Did not know if he would believe your story about the ledgers being hidden in Leona's shop. But I gambled that his arrogance would make him sloppy, that he would come for you himself instead of sending hired guns, that he would want to personally recover the evidence before killing you." Nora stood and walked to the window. Outside, Silver Creek burned, not literally, but close. Buildings vandalized, windows broken. The social contract dissolving into mob rule now that the man who bought compliance was in chains. "You used me as bait. I gave you a weapon and let you choose how to use it. There is a difference." "Is there?" "You manipulated me into going back to Garrett's house, into stealing documents, into putting myself in danger so Caldwell would come after me and you could catch him in the act. I gave you information and resources. You made your own choices." Nora turned to face him. "Did you know Caldwell intercepted the photographs you sent to Helena? Did you know he would think that was our only evidence?" Finn hesitated, then nodded. "I suspected he had people watching the stage routes, monitoring telegraphs, so I sent obvious evidence, made it easy to intercept. Let him think he had won. That made him careless, made him come to Silver Creek personally instead of running. You risked my life on a suspicion. I risked my own life too. I am the one who crashed through a window and got shot. After I had already been captured, after I had already been threatened with torture. You cut it very close, Finn. I know, I am sorry. But if I had moved too soon, if I had arrested Caldwell before he revealed himself publicly, his lawyers would have claimed mistaken identity, false arrest. They would have used his supposed death as proof he could not be prosecuted. We needed him alive and visible and undeniably guilty. The town hall meeting gave us that." Nora wanted to be angry, wanted to rage at him for using her without permission, for risking her life as part of some calculated gamble. But she understood the logic, understood why it had to happen this way. Still hurt, though. You should have told me. If I had told you, you would have acted differently. Caldwell would have sensed the trap. It only worked because you genuinely believed we were improvising. Your fear was real. That made you convincing. So you let me think I was going to die. I let you think you might die. There is a difference. I never intended to let Caldwell kill you, but I needed him to believe he could, just long enough to commit himself publicly. Finn crossed to the window, stood beside her. His shoulder brushed hers. I know you are angry. You have every right to be. I manipulated you, used you, risked your life for a conviction. Those are facts. But I also kept you alive, got Caldwell arrested, broke the pattern you wanted broken. Those are facts too, so you decide. Do I deserve your anger or your gratitude? Because I honestly do not know anymore. Nora looked at him, really looked, saw the exhaustion in his eyes, the weight of choices made and consequences accepted. He had been carrying this burden alone, planning, calculating, gambling lives on percentages and hoping the numbers worked out, just like her father used to do with his ledgers. Follow the math, trust the numbers, hope probability favors justice. Sometimes it did. Her father died for it, but his ledgers survived. And now Caldwell would hang because Thomas Ashby trusted that someone eventually would finish what he started. I think you did what you thought was necessary, Nora said finally. I think you made hard choices in an impossible situation. I think you are probably a good man who does questionable things for defensible reasons, and I think I am too tired to be angry about it tonight. But tomorrow I might be furious, or I might be grateful. Ask me then. Finn smiled slightly. Fair enough. They stood together in silence, watching Silver Creek tear itself apart over the death of a lie it had chosen to believe. The trial took place in Helena 8 weeks later. Federal courthouse. Judge appointed by the territorial governor, vetted by Washington to ensure he could not be bought. Jury selected from 3 different counties to avoid Caldwell's influence. Every precaution taken to ensure fairness. Caldwell's lawyers were expensive, East Coast educated. They wore fine suits and spoke in polished tones and treated the proceedings like a performance. Their strategy was simple: destroy the witnesses, paint Nora as mentally unstable, paint Emily as delusional, paint Ruth as a coached child, paint Finn as a glory-seeking federal agent willing to fabricate evidence, make the jury doubt everything. They were very good at it. For 3 days they tore Nora apart on the witness stand, asked about her father's suicide, her flight from Boston, her hasty marriage to a stranger, suggested she was running from scandal, from debts, from her own failures, suggested she seduced Garrett for money, then cried abuse when he refused to give her more. Every answer she gave was twisted, turned into evidence of deception. But Nora had been preparing for this, had spent 8 weeks with Marshal Cobb rehearsing every question, every attack, every possible angle. She stayed calm, answered clearly, never wavered from her story. And when Caldwell's lawyer asked why anyone should believe a woman who admittedly lied about her name when coming to Silver Creek, Nora looked at the jury and said something that made the courtroom go silent. I lied about my name because my father was murdered for discovering the truth about Elias Caldwell's crimes. I changed my name to stay alive long enough to finish his work. If that makes me untrustworthy in your eyes, so be it. But ask yourselves this: why would a woman lie about her name, travel 2,000 miles, marry a stranger, and risk death by drowning, torture, and execution just to fabricate a story about murders she did not witness and frauds that did not benefit her? What possible motive would I have for inventing this entire conspiracy? The answer is simple: I would not. Because the only reason to go through all of that is if every word I have spoken is true. Emily testified next. Her voice shook, but her words were clear. She described the abuse, the broken arm, the root cellar, the 11 months hiding in an attic. She showed the jury her damaged arm. Let them see the permanent consequences of Garrett's violence. Caldwell's lawyers tried to break her, suggested she was mentally ill, suggested her mother had coached her, suggested the broken arm came from a different accident years ago. But Emily held firm. I know what happened to my arm, I know who broke it, and I know that man is sitting 20 feet away from me pretending he did not do it. But he did. and I will say it as many times as you need me to until someone believes me." The jury believed her. Then Ruth Perth took the stand, an 8-year-old girl walking to the witness chair in a federal murder trial. The courtroom went completely silent. Even Caldwell's lawyers seemed uncertain how to handle a child witness. The prosecutor was gentle. "Ruth, can you tell the jury about your mother? Her name was Virginia Perth. She married Mr. Voss in 1883. I was 5 years old. He sent me to live with my aunt and Helena because he did not want children around. Did you see your mother after the wedding? She came to visit me 2 weeks before she died. She was scared. She gave me this." Ruth held up the locket. The prosecutor had her open it, show the photograph, read Virginia's letter aloud. Ruth's voice did not shake. She read every word clearly, as if she had been practicing for 4 years, which she had. When she finished, the courtroom was silent. Caldwell's lead lawyer stood. "Objection, Your Honor. This letter is hearsay. The writer is dead. We have no way to verify authenticity." The judge looked at the letter, at Ruth, at the jury's faces. "The objection is noted, but the letter will be admitted as evidence. The jury can decide for themselves whether it is genuine." The lawyer tried a different approach. "Ruth, you were very young when your mother died, only 5 years old. Are you certain your memories are accurate? Children often confuse dreams with reality." Ruth looked at him with those eyes too old for her face. "I remember my mother's face. I remember how she smelled like lavender. I remember she always sang when she cooked. I remember the last time I saw her, she cried and told me to keep the locket safe, to give it to someone who would listen. That is not a dream, sir. That is my mother dying because she married a bad man. But you do not actually know how your mother died, do you? You were not there. I know what she wrote in her letter, and I know she was right. She said Mr. Voss would kill her. Then she died. That is not a coincidence." The lawyer had no response to that. Ruth was excused. As she walked past the defense table, she looked directly at Garrett. "My mother was braver than you. She told the truth even when she knew it would get her killed. You lie even when everyone knows you are guilty." Garrett's face remained blank, but something flickered in his eyes. Recognition that he had been defeated by an 8-year-old child carrying her dead mother's words. The prosecution rested. The defense called no witnesses. Caldwell and Garrett both declined to testify. Their lawyers gave closing arguments about reasonable doubt and insufficient evidence and the unreliability of traumatized witnesses. But the prosecutor stood before the jury with Virginia's letter in one hand and Thomas Ashby's ledgers in the other. "The defense wants you to believe that 4 women independently fabricated stories about the same 2 men, that an 8-year-old child forged her dead mother's handwriting, that a respected Boston accountant spent 8 years creating fake financial records for no reason, that federal investigators manufactured evidence to frame innocent businessmen." He set the documents on the evidence table. "Or you can believe the simple truth. Elias Caldwell and Garrett Voss are murderers. They killed for profit. They killed to silence witnesses. They killed because they thought money made them untouchable. And they continued killing because no one stopped them. Until now." He gestured to the gallery where Nora, Emily, Leona, and Ruth sat together. "These women stopped them, not with violence, not with revenge, with evidence, with testimony, with the truth spoken aloud despite every threat, every intimidation, every attempt to silence them. They did what this town would not do, what law enforcement would not do, what society would not do. They said no more. The pattern ends here." The jury deliberated for 6 hours, came back with a verdict. Guilty on all counts. Elias Caldwell stared at the jury foreman like he could not comprehend the words being spoken, like the concept of consequences for men like him simply did not exist in his understanding of how the world worked. Garrett Voss showed no emotion at all, just sat there, chains on his wrists, waiting for the sentence everyone already knew was coming. The judge cleared his throat. "Elias Caldwell, Garrett Voss, you have been found guilty of fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy to commit murder, and multiple counts of first-degree homicide. The sentence for these crimes, as prescribed by federal law, is death by hanging. Sentence to be carried out in 30 days. May God have mercy on your souls." Caldwell stood, his face purple with rage. "This is not over. I have appeals. I have lawyers. "You cannot do this to me. I am Elias Caldwell. I built this territory. I own half the judges in this territory." "You own them," the judge corrected. "Past tense. Bailiff, remove the prisoners." They dragged Caldwell out, still shouting, still threatening, still believing his money would save him. Garrett went quietly, looked back once at Nora, smiled that same calm smile he wore the night he tried to drown her. No remorse, no fear, nothing. Just empty. The hanging took place in Helena on a cold morning in October. Public execution, required by law for federal crimes. Hundreds of people attended, some for justice, some for spectacle, some just because watching men die was entertainment on the frontier. Nora stood in the crowd with Finn, Leona, Emily, and Ruth. They had been asked if they wanted front row seats. Witness the sentence carried out. See the pattern broken definitively. Nora said no. She did not need to watch, did not need to see Garrett's neck snap or Caldwell's legs kick. Seeing them convicted was enough. The rest was just mechanics. The law disposing of garbage it no longer had use for. But Emily wanted to be there, needed to see it. Ruth wanted to watch the man who killed her mother face justice. So they stood together at the back of the crowd and watched the scaffolds being prepared. 2 nooses, side by side. Caldwell and Garrett would die together. Partners in crime. Partners in punishment. The prisoners were led out. Caldwell still protesting, still insisting his lawyers would fix this, still believing, right up until the noose went around his neck, that wealth was immunity. The hangman asked if they had final words. Caldwell used his to curse everyone involved in his prosecution, promised revenge from beyond the grave, swore his associates would hunt down everyone who testified against him. Empty threats from a man whose power ended at the edge of the scaffold. Garrett said nothing, just looked out at the crowd with those dead eyes and waited. The hangman pulled the lever. The floor dropped. Caldwell and Garrett Voss fell. Caldwell's neck did not break clean. He strangled slowly, took 3 minutes to die, kicked and thrashed and fought until his body finally gave up. Garrett's neck broke immediately. 1 second alive, the next gone. Efficient, clean. The way he had always operated. No mess, no fuss. Just transaction completed. Emily watched it all, tears streaming down her face. Not sadness, relief. The kind of crying that comes when something that has been crushing you for years finally lifts. Ruth held her locket tight, whispered something Nora could not hear. A prayer, maybe, or goodbye to a mother she barely remembered. When it was over, when the bodies hung still and the crowd began to disperse, Emily turned to Nora. "Is it really finished? Is it really over?" "The legal part is over. Caldwell and Garrett are dead. Their estates are being seized to pay restitution to victims. The railroad contracts are being investigated. The pattern is broken." "Then why do I still feel afraid?" "Because fear does not end when the threat dies. It lingers, lives in your bones, makes you jump at shadows. That takes time to heal. Maybe years, maybe forever. But Emily, you survived. You testified. You watched the man who broke you hang. That is victory. It might not feel like it yet, but it is." Emily nodded slowly, wiped her eyes. "What about you?" "Do you feel victorious?" Nora thought about that. She had won. Garrett dead, Caldwell dead. Her father vindicated, justice served. Everything she fought for accomplished. So why did she feel so hollow? "I feel tired," she said honestly. "I feel like I spent 3 months fighting a war, and now that it is over, I do not know what to do with peace." Finn spoke up. "You could work for the federal government. Marshal Cobb told me Washington is creating a new division. Forensic accounting, investigating financial crimes. They want someone who knows how to read ledgers the way you do, someone who understands that numbers tell stories. He recommended you. Me work for the government. Why not? You are good at it. You broke a conspiracy that had been running for 8 years, exposed fraud worth millions. You have skills, Nora, skills that could help a lot of people." Nora thought about her father, about the hours he spent teaching her to balance ledgers, to spot discrepancies, to follow money through layers of deception. She thought he was preparing her for a career as his assistant. Maybe he was preparing her for something bigger. What about Silver Creek? What happens to the town now that Caldwell's empire is gone? It survives or it does not. That is not your responsibility. You did not destroy Silver Creek. Caldwell did. You just made sure people knew the truth. Leona put a hand on Nora's shoulder. Emily, Ruth, and I are leaving. Going to Sacramento, starting over. I have family there. A cousin who runs a dressmaking business. Says she can use our skills. It will be good. New place, new faces. No one knows what happened here. What about the fabric shop? Sold it, used the money to buy train tickets and pay first month's rent in Sacramento. Clean slate, Nora. That is what we need, and that is what you need too. Stop trying to fix the past. Start building a future. Ruth tugged on Nora's sleeve. Will you come visit us? In Sacramento, Mama Leona says I can call her that now, and Emily is like my big sister. We are a family. You could be part of our family too if you want. Nora knelt down to Ruth's level. I would like that very much. And yes, I will visit, I promise. Ruth hugged her tight. Thank you for listening to my mama's letter. Thank you for making the bad man pay. Nora hugged her back. This small girl who had carried truth for 4 years, waiting for someone brave enough to use it. Your mother was very brave. You are just like her. 6 months later, Nora stood in a federal office building in Washington. The sign on the door read, United States Department of Justice Division of Forensic Accounting. She was the division's first employee, hired on Marshall Cobb's recommendation, given a desk, a ledger, and a stack of cases involving fraud, embezzlement, corruption. Her job was simple. Follow the money. Find the truth. Help put criminals in prison. The work was hard, the hours long, the pay modest. But every case she closed felt like a small victory. Every crooked businessman she helped convict felt like honoring her father's memory. She was good at it, better than good. She solved cases that had stumped other investigators for years, found patterns in numbers others missed. Within 6 months, she had a reputation. The woman who could read ledgers like novels, who could spot a lie hidden in columns of figures. Sometimes she thought about Silver Creek, about Garrett's calm voice explaining how easy drowning could be, about Emily hiding in an attic, about Ruth carrying her mother's final testimony, about her father's coded ledgers documenting crimes he knew would get him killed. Sometimes she thought about Finn. He had stayed in Montana. Promoted to regional marshal, they wrote letters occasionally. Professional, distant. A friendship built on shared trauma maintained through careful boundaries. He had asked once if she regretted any of it. The danger, the fear, the cost. She thought about that question a lot. Did she regret fighting back? No. Did she regret exposing Garrett and Caldwell numb? Did she regret the sleepless nights, the nightmares, the way her hands still shook when she filled a bathtub? Yes, sometimes. In the dark hours before dawn when memory felt heavier than justice. But regret was not the same as wishing things had gone differently. She could regret the pain without regretting the choice, could acknowledge the cost without thinking the price too high. She had broken the pattern, saved Emily, given Ruth justice for her mother, vindicated her father, helped create a system that might save other women in similar situations. That had to be worth something, had to mean something. On her desk, she kept a photograph, not of Garrett's hanging or Caldwell's trial, but of 5 women standing together outside a courthouse in Helena. Nora, Emily, Leona, Ruth, and a stranger. A 5th woman who had come forward during the trial. Another mail-order bride who had escaped a different abusive husband after hearing about Nora's case. 5 women who survived, who testified, who refused to be silenced. The photographer had asked them to smile. They could not. Too much pain behind them, but they stood close together. Shoulders touching. United. The caption on the photo, written in Nora's handwriting, read, "The ones who came." Because Nora had been wrong that night in the bathtub. Wrong when she said no one would come to save her. No one had come at first, but eventually people did come. Finn, Leona, Emily, Ruth, with her mother's letter. Marshall Cobb, a federal judge who could not be bought, a jury that cared about truth, people who believed her, fought for her, stood with her when standing was dangerous. She had not been saved by a hero. She had been saved by a system imperfect and slow, but functional, when enough people chose to make it work. And now she was part of that system. One more person standing between evil and the people it preyed upon. One more accountant following numbers until they told the truth. Her father would be proud. She hoped he knew. Wherever he was, whatever came after drowning in a river with a lie attached to your name. She hoped he knew his daughter finished his work, balanced his ledgers, made the numbers add up to justice. There was a knock on her office door. A clerk entered with a new case file. "Miss Ashby, this just came in from Chicago. Railroad fraud. Millions missing. They need someone who can track money through shell companies. Director says you are the only one who can handle it." Nora opened the file, saw pages of numbers, contracts, invoices, the familiar landscape of lies hidden in arithmetic. She picked up her pen. "Tell the director I will have preliminary findings by end of week." The clerk left. Nora bent over the ledger and began to work. Outside her window, Washington bustled with life. Politicians and lawyers and bureaucrats building a country one law at a time. Sometimes those laws protected people. Sometimes they failed. But the trying mattered. The effort counted. Nora thought about that first night in Silver Creek, gasping for air in a bathtub while a stranger pushed her down. The moment she decided to fight instead of drown. Everything that came after flowed from that choice. The investigation, the evidence, the trial, the hanging, the new career. All of it built on one decision made in terror and desperation. I will not die like this. And she had not died. She had lived. And living was winning. Everything else was just details. She wrote the date at the top of her ledger, April 15th, 1888. And beneath it, in small, careful letters, she wrote her father's favorite saying, the one that guided his whole career, the one that got him killed and kept her alive. Numbers do not lie. But sometimes the truth needs someone willing to fight for it. Nora Ashby was that someone. She picked up her pen and got to work. The end.